Chapter 924. The Shadow Master and the three elders issued orders to summon Zhang Mingrui and Zhang Mingjue back to the headquarters. The two of them didn't dare to disobey. It wasn't a big deal. At most, they would be demoted if they came to the headquarters. If they disobeyed the orders of the Shadow Master and the three elders, it was equivalent to betraying Blood Shadow. What they had to face next was endless pursuit. And it wasn't just Blood Shadow that was after them. There was also the Yen Kingdom. After receiving the orders, the two of them immediately set off. They returned to Blood Shadow's headquarters in 6 or 7 days. Everything that needed to be said had already been explained in a letter on the way. Now they didn't need to meet Zhang Dingming to discuss anything. The two of them went straight to the meeting hall. Jinza Branch Hall Master Zhang Mingrui and Linji Branch Hall Master Zhang Mingjue greet the Shadow Master. These two fellows were indeed nurtured by aristocratic families with tens of thousands of years of history. Although Zhang Mingjue was an idiot, their actions were still very magnanimous. Punishment Elder Su Qingchuan asked, Zhang Mingjue, the former deputy hall master of Jinza Branch, accused you of removing him from his position for no reason and indulging in sensual pleasures. Furthermore, you misappropriated more than 1 million mid-grade spirit stones from the branch's treasury for your indulgence. Is this true? Zhang Mingjue hurriedly said, Yes, there is such a thing. I was muddle-headed and did something stupid. I am willing to double the compensation for the misappropriated resources. Please be lenient with me, Shadow Master and the elders. Such a straightforward admission of guilt left everyone at a loss for what to do. Zhou Wan also immediately understood that this fellow had received guidance from Zhang Dingming. Anyway, his crimes wouldn't reach the point of being beheaded. He might as well admit it and compensate for the misappropriated resources. This way, Blood Shadow's interests wouldn't be damaged too much, and he could be dealt with lightly. With his attitude of accepting punishment, Su Qingchuan didn't want to torture him anymore. Since you took the initiative to admit your mistakes, we will be lenient with you. Jinza Branch Hall Master Zhang Mingrui neglected his duties and misappropriated resources from the treasury. He will be stripped of his position as Hall Master and will remain an elder with no duties. Go home and reflect on your mistakes. Don't cause any more trouble. Zhang Mingrui also bowed calmly. Thank you, Shadow Master and the elders. I will take my leave. With that, he turned and walked out of the meeting hall and returned to Su's Spirit Mountain. Zhang Mingjue didn't do anything wrong. He came here mainly to be rewarded. The punishment hall only had the power to punish but not to reward. Third Elder Chao Jing said, Linji Branch Hall Master Zhang Mingjue has been the Hall Master for more than 70 years. In the past 70 years, the amount of information sent to headquarters by the Linji Branch had more than doubled. Apart from that, they had also sent a large number of precious spiritual items. After investigation, it was found that Zhang Mingjue had been cautious and conscientious during his time as the Hall Master and had not made any mistakes. A capable and experienced person who had done meritorious deeds without making any mistakes would naturally be put in an important position. As for the position, I'll leave it to you to decide. Zhou Wan nodded. Zhang Mingjue has indeed done a good job. He should be promoted. Great Elder, is there any vacancy for an elder position in the headquarters? Zhang Yu replied, Originally there was no vacancy. However, a few days ago, the Spirit Talisman Palace's chief supervisor made a small mistake and has been removed from his position. If it was a small force, being the general manager of the Spirit Talisman Palace was a lucrative job. However, for a faction like Blood Shadow, the value of the Spirit Talisman Palace wasn't great. Because they didn't have a strong talisman inheritance, the Spirit Talisman Palace could only refine talismans of low value. As such, the status of the Spirit Talisman Elder and Chief Supervisor naturally wasn't high. This position isn't bad. Zhang Mingjue will be the Chief Supervisor of the Spirit Talisman Palace. Zhang Mingjue also bowed. Thank you, Shadow Master. Thank you, elders. Zhou Wan asked, These two branches are extremely important. Who do you think should take over? Great Elder replied, For the Jinza branch, the previous Vice Hall Master was removed by Zhang Mingrui for no reason. Now he should be reinstated and another Hall Master should be sent over. As for the Linji branch, headquarters will send another person over. Chao Jing cupped his hands and said, I would like to recommend 2 people. They are Su Qingchuan and Su Yijin. The 2 of them are already more than 400 years old and have enough experience. With temporary matters arranged for them, they can be considered capable and experienced. After some experience, they will definitely become great talents. They can take on the role of Hall Master. Zhou Wan nodded. In that case, we will do as Third Elder says. Su Qingchuan will be the Lingji branch hall master, and Su Yijin will be the Jinza branch hall master. After arranging these matters, the elders dispersed. Zhang Mingjue returned to the Zhang family's spirit mountain. When he saw Zhang Dingming, he cupped his hands and said, "Uncle Mingrui and I have been transferred back to headquarters. The two branches are now in the hands of the Su family. It won't be long before the clansmen of these two branches are suppressed. If this continues, our previous arrangements will be finished. What should we do about this? You have to come up with a plan." Zhang Dingming sighed. "What else can we do? I didn't expect that the fall of Zhang Dingyi would bring so much trouble to our Zhang family. Shadow Master's prestige is extremely high now. As long as the policies she proposes are not too outrageous, all the elders will support them. If we want to place people in the various branches, he can be transferred back to headquarters at any time. If this continues, it will become a competition of resources between our Zhang family and the entire Blood Shadow and the Yen Kingdom. I'm afraid that in less than 10 years, our Zhang family's wealth will be exhausted. Once the Zhang family falls, even if Shadow Master doesn't deal with us, the Su family won't let us go. There's no point in continuing to be tough. Instead of waiting for Shadow Master and the Su family's butcher knife to fall on our necks, it's better to give in now. At this point, I don't expect to have any more power. It's enough to protect the family." Zhang Mingchen was also here. When he heard this, he was puzzled. "Father, our Zhang family's tens of thousands of years of foundation. How can we give up just like that?" Zhang Dingming glared at his son, shook his head and sighed. "You're really hopelessly stupid. Mingjue, what do you think?" Zhang Mingjue answered, "Uncle, the Yen Kingdom's intention is to control Blood Shadow and make it a subordinate organization of the Yen Kingdom. The reason why they're targeting us is that we want to control Blood Shadow. As long as we give up Blood Shadow, there won't be any conflict of interest with the Yen Kingdom. If we continue to resist, the Zhang family will not be able to protect itself, and we won't be able to stop Shadow Master and the Yen Kingdom's power. Now, our Zhang family has only lost our power. The most important thing is that our clansmen and heritage are still there. If we can take the initiative to give in and request to move to the northern counties of the Yen Kingdom, the Yen Kingdom's Grand Emperor will definitely give us a place to settle down. Moreover, our Zhang family is only giving up our power in Blood Shadow. The property will still be ours. In the future, Blood Shadow will become a subordinate force of the Yen Kingdom. There's no difference whether we work in Blood Shadow or work in the Yen Kingdom." Zhang Dingming's face revealed a gratified smile. "With Mingjue, our Zhang family still has hope. Mingchen, although you're not very intelligent, you're still above average. However, your scope is too small. You can't even be considered below average. You're even worse than Mingrui. Therefore you're only below average. I've been fighting with Su Boyu for hundreds of years, and I've always had the upper hand. In terms of intelligence, I'm still slightly inferior to him. I can beat him because my scope is bigger than his. Sometimes, the scope is more important than intelligence. Wang Daoyuan's management ability can only be considered above average. He's much worse than Su Boyu and me. However, his scope is big enough. The ability he's shown is also far above mine. Otherwise, the Wang family wouldn't have risen so quickly. Without a scope, even if you're extremely intelligent, you can only fish in a muddy pond. So what if you fish out all the fish in the muddy pond? You can only eat a few full meals. If your scope is big enough, you can fish in the rivers, lakes, and seas. With some ability, you can live without worrying about food and clothing. It's much better than staying in the muddy pond. I'm going to find Shadow Master and the Grand Emperor to request to move some of our clansmen to the Yen Kingdom. In the future, you should learn from Mingjue. Don't just focus on those few spirit stones." Zhang Mingchen was somewhat dissatisfied. That's billions of mid-grade spirit stones and a lot of property. Chapter 925. In his anger, Zhang Dingming slapped Zhang Mingchen again. "You really can't be carved out of rotten wood. The Wang family was just a foundation establishment family back then, but they produced a very ambitious Wang Daoyuan. Our Zhang family is a large family with tens of thousands of years of history. How did we produce a frog in a well like you? Other than wealth, you don't care about anything else. Hand over the affairs in your hands to Mengju and reflect on your mistakes in the future. When you've thought it through, come out and manage the family affairs." Wang Daoyuan's mindset was mainly influenced by his previous life. After all, in a world with advanced information, one could see all kinds of things. No matter how good one was at thinking and summarizing things, one's mindset would gradually become bigger. Zhang Mingchen still wanted to argue, but Zhang Dingming glared at him, and he immediately shut his mouth. Then he left the Zhang family's spiritual mountain and went to Blood Shadow City. When he arrived at the Zhou family's courtyard, he cupped his hands at the door and said, "Shadow Master, retired Emperor, Zhang Dingming of the Zhang family wishes to see you." Zhang Dingming had always been at odds with Zhou Luan and had never interacted with her. Now that he suddenly came to visit and was quite polite, the two of them were a little surprised. One would not hit a smiling person. Since he came to visit, they could not be too rude. Wang Daoyuan opened the door and welcomed Zhang Dingming in. "Grand Elder, may I know why you're here?" Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, "I overestimated myself and made an enemy of Shadow Master and retired Emperor. Now that the Zhang family is at the end of its rope, we're willing to serve Shadow Master and retired Emperor. As long as you're willing to accept the Zhang family, I'm willing to commit suicide." Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, this old man is really cunning. He said he's going to commit suicide. If he really dies, Blood Shadow will be in trouble. Although the Zhang family no longer has a chance to turn the tables, they still have a lot of power in the various branches. They're still far from being at the end of their rope. If he dies, the branches under the Zhang family's control will cut off contact with the headquarters out of fear. If they continue to hide, half of Blood Shadow's intelligence system will be destroyed. His timing is very accurate. If he dares to say this in a few years, I'll really kill him. But now he was still hesitant to act, so he could only appease her. Grand Elder must be joking. Whether it is Zhou Luan or my Wang clan, we have no enmity with the Zhang clan. The previous conflict was just a power struggle between both sides. Since the Zhang family wants to reconcile, there's no need for us to exterminate them. Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, "In that case, many thanks for retired Emperor's grace of not killing me." Although the Zhang family had tens of thousands of years of foundation, Blood Shadow was an underground force after all. The headquarters was deep underground, so there wasn't enough space. Outside was the southern wasteland. Ordinary clansmen couldn't survive there. The Zhang family didn't have many members, so their development was greatly restricted. I want to move most of the Zhang family to the Yan Kingdom. What do you think, retired Emperor? Since he had already referred to himself as a subject, his intentions were clear. The Zhang family had to give up their power and status in Blood Shadow and focus their operations on Yan Kingdom in the future. Wang Daoyuan naturally welcomed this. If he could move most of the Zhang and Su families' forces elsewhere, the Wang family would be able to completely control Blood Shadow. It just so happened that Shanbei needed people to develop it. Moving the Zhang family there would play a big role. Of course, Zhang Dingming, a Yuanine cultivator, couldn't be placed in Blood Shadow's headquarters. It was better to move him to Shanbei. His position was also very easy to arrange. Zhong Xinyang was the governor of Hell King County. Yan Kingdom occupied a quarter of Shanbei and only established 3 counties, Guiyin, Hell King, and Luoxing. These 3 counties added together were less than 1/10 of the entire Shanbei territory of Yan Kingdom. They just needed to find a place to establish a county and let Zhang Dingming be the governor. Yan Kingdom occupied a quarter of Shanbei. Now most of the land is empty. There are often rogue cultivators and forces from Shanbei running to Shanbei to occupy the spirit veins and industries. I have the intention to establish a few more counties, but the counties in Shanbei are all ruled by Yuanine cultivators. Yan Kingdom's talents haven't matured yet, so there's no suitable candidate for governor. Grand Elder's cultivation level is enough. If you want, you can be the governor of Shanbei. Zhang family's disciples can also join in the migration to Shanbei. There are many level 4 spirit veins there. Guiyin Mountain Spirit Vein is not far from level 5. Its potential is much stronger than the southern wasteland where Blood Shadow's headquarters is located. Being able to become the governor of a county right after joining the Yan Kingdom was an excellent condition. As for the other 2 governors, Zhong Xinyang had joined the Wang family for many years. The other one was a half-demon. It was a prestigious position to let them govern themselves and slowly assimilate. Zhang Dingming was naturally very happy. He originally wanted to get a few level 4 spirit veins and settle down for his family. He didn't expect to become a governor directly. Greetings, Your Majesty. Thank you for your generosity. May I ask, retired Emperor, how should we deal with the branches under the control of the Zhang family? Since Zhang family has decided to join the Yan Kingdom, keep them for now. We can slowly move them to Yan Kingdom later. By the way, the Hall Master of Sanhe branch in Zhao country is from your Zhang family, right? Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, all the branches in Zhao country have always been under my Zhang family's jurisdiction. The Hall Master of Sanhe branch, Li Sheng, was promoted by me. Because it's too close to Yan Kingdom, I didn't place any Zhang family disciples there. However, he will still listen to me. Now that Zhang family is a subject of Yan Kingdom, It's just a matter of a word for him to cooperate with Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's influence will soon cover the entire Zhao country. This old man was indeed shrewd. He saw through Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's intention. Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce was just a startup and mainly operated in Yan Kingdom. As long as they could take over many branches in Zhao country, they could open up a channel for expansion. They had already reached an agreement with Song country. They could go through Wuqing Pass to Song country and develop the central and southern parts of Wanlong Mountain. Zhang Daoyu is indeed an experienced schemer. With the cooperation of Sanhe branch, Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce can quickly expand. The Chamber of Commerce is in need of people. My Wang family has few people. It's not easy to develop important industries in Yan Kingdom. Now Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce can't send too many disciples. They can only recruit a large number of itinerant cultivators. However, these itinerant cultivators have no family and are not very reliable. Therefore, I want to recruit some of the Zhang family disciples into the Chamber of Commerce. It's better to have subordinates with families and businesses than those without roots. Zhang Dingming was pleasantly surprised. Although the Wang family was like adding oil to the fire and had strong momentum, it lacked a foundation. Otherwise, there would be no need to establish Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce and develop various industries. Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's importance went without saying. Now that the Chamber of Commerce was newly established, anyone who could squeeze in would be considered an elder. In the future, when the Chamber of Commerce expanded, their status would be higher. Many thanks for your Majesty's kindness. The disciples of the Zhang family's various branches will be at your Majesty's disposal. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "That's good. I'll send a letter to Yan Kingdom and get them to establish a few counties in the northern part of the mountain. When they are ready, you can go over and take up the post." After saying that, Xiaochen got Zhou Wan to take out the token and send a letter to Wang Daojian. Zhang Dingming cupped his hands and said, "Many thanks, Your Majesty. If Your Majesty and Shadow Master have no other instructions, this old subject will take his leave first." Wang Daoyuan nodded, and Zhang Dingming left the courtyard. After he left, Zhou Wan asked, "This fellow is an old fox. Do you really plan to use him? Other than you and me, there are no other Yuanian cultivators in the family. When we travel to the Sea of Seven Stars in the future, aren't you afraid that your subject will be strong and your master will be weak?" "There's no need to worry about that. Mingchen has awakened the Namingli fire. With the help of the spiritual fire, his cultivation speed won't be slow. It will only take him 100 years to break through to the Yuanian realm. In addition, with the 10,000 spirits pagoda, even peak-stage Yuanian cultivators can't touch him. Why should he be afraid of an early-stage Yuanian cultivator? Before I leave, I'll leave behind some 5th-grade sword cultivator puppets. They can kill early-stage Yuanian cultivators as easily as cutting vegetables. Whoever dares to cause trouble will be courting death." Chapter 926. The Zhang family had sought refuge in the Yan Kingdom, and so had the Su family. More than 90% of the elders in Blood Shadow supported Zhou Wan. Only Elder Han and a few other elders remained neutral. People like them would not be biased towards any faction. They were the ones who were loyal to Blood Shadow. Unfortunately, Blood Shadow's main forces were the Zhang and Su families. These two families had pledged their allegiance to Zhou Wan, and some non-direct elders had also pledged allegiance to her. Blood Shadow had already become the property of the Wang clan. The few elders did not have the ability to stop them at all. You didn't need to do anything else. You just needed to wait quietly. Once the Chamber of Commerce expanded, it would slowly swallow up the various branches of Blood Shadow. Once all the branches became part of the Chamber of Commerce, Zhou Wan could propose that Blood Shadow be fully integrated into the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. The Wang clan disciples would not have to go through so much trouble and follow the rules to enter Blood Shadow's headquarters. As long as he entered the Chamber of Commerce, he would be able to come to Blood Shadow's headquarters to receive guidance as a disciple of the Chamber of Commerce. This would allow the Wang family to digest the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts even faster. At that time, the Yan Kingdom could be considered as a true top force. Since the Zhang family had already sided with them, there was no need for the Su family to torment the Zhang family's branch. In the future, the Zhang and Su families would enter the Yan Kingdom. These two families with tens of thousands of years of history had a deeper foundation than the Wang family. Currently, the two families' biggest weakness was that they didn't have enough ordinary clansmen. After all, they were in the southern wasteland and ordinary people couldn't live outside. Although the underground of the headquarters and the secret realm were vast, there was a limit to the number of people that could be accommodated. The Zhang and Su families only had 2 to 3 million mortals. Although the environment in Shanbei was not very good, it was much better than in the southern wilderness. After establishing a foundation in Shanbei, the number of ordinary clansmen of the two families would increase rapidly. After making up for the shortcoming of having too few ordinary people, the strength of the two families would grow very quickly in the future. Therefore it was best for these two families to restrain each other so that they wouldn't have other ideas. Zhou asked, after dealing with Blood Shadow, "Are you going to return to Jade Spring Peak?" "There's no rush. Ming Ren and Ming Xian are already 9 years old. Next year I'll bring them back to Jade Spring Peak to acknowledge their ancestors. After that, I will stay in the Yen Kingdom to accompany them for a few years. When they get used to living in the family, I'll come back to accompany you. Before I left Beiyuan, I made you a promise. The next time I go to the Sea of Seven Stars, I will definitely bring you along. I've caused a lot of trouble over there. All the major forces in the Qixing Sea Xiuxin community are after me. With your current strength, you might run into a lot of trouble there. Before you leave, you have to work hard to raise your cultivation. With my help, your cultivation speed will be faster, right?" Zhou pinched him on the waist. "The two children are still here. Don't speak in such a rude manner." The presence of the two little fellows was indeed a bit of a hindrance. Now that Blood Shadow's side was in harmony, Wang Daoyuan didn't have to think about who to deal with. He also had plenty of time to perfect his own cultivation methods and spells. A year's time quickly passed. During this year, Wang Daoyuan focused on deducing the blooming water Divine Thunder. After all, when he went to the Sea of Seven Stars in the future, water-type spells were still the most reliable in the vast sea. In terms of cultivation methods, making even a small change required a lot of effort. He could only stop here. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian were already 10 years old. Wang Daoyuan took out a qi testing disc and told them to test their spirit roots. As Wang Mingren grew older, his personality became more and more domineering. He had a fearless demeanor. However, he wasn't afraid that he would be lawless in the future. The Yen Kingdom was Wang Mingqian's territory. Dealing with a brat wasn't a problem. Now that he heard that he had to test his spirit root, he quickly ran over. "Father, I'll go first." With that, he placed his small hand on the qi testing disc. He was now at the 5th level of qi refinement. He didn't need Wang Daoyuan's help to activate the qi testing disc. Soon, a 9-inch and 9-centimeter silver pillar of light appeared on the qi testing disc. Cultivators with heavenly spirit roots could appear in every era. That was the 9-inch and 8-centimeter spirit root. A 9-inch and 9-centimeter spirit root wasn't something that could be found in every era. His talent was slightly stronger than Wang Mingqian's, but Wang Mingqian had the Nanmingli fire to help him cultivate. This was equivalent to increasing the talent of his spirit root. Overall, his cultivation speed should be faster than his. A 9-inch and 9-centimeter heavenly spirit root is indeed rare. His talent isn't bad, but he needs to cultivate more. Then Wang Mingxian also placed her hand on the qi testing disc. Soon, a jade-green pillar of light appeared on the qi testing disc. It was 9.7 inches tall. Her constitution should be a special wood spirit body. Both her spirit body and spirit root were formed by the connate 5 elements qi. People with spirit bodies usually didn't have high spirit roots because the connate 5 elements qi was scattered. It wasn't easy to have a 9-inch and 7-centimeter spirit root. The two children's spirit roots were extremely talented. Zhou was naturally very satisfied. "The child I gave birth to is indeed extraordinary." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "All right, it's all thanks to you. If there's nothing else to prepare, I'll be bringing them back to the Yen Kingdom." Zhou face was originally full of smiles, but now her eyes were filled with tears. "These two children have been by my side since they were young. I really can't bear to leave them now." Wang Daoyuan comforted her. "Don't worry too much. The Yen Kingdom is my territory. They also have Mingqian as their big brother. Who would dare to bully them?" Zhou took out 2 small bags. "These are their clothes. I don't need to prepare anything for them. Anyway, you don't lack anything." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "All right, we'll be leaving now. Mingren, Mingxian, follow me back to the Yen Kingdom to acknowledge our ancestors." The two of them had never run around since they were young. At most, they played in the courtyard or around the neighborhood. Now that they heard that they could go on a long trip, they were especially excited. They each carried their own small bags and ran out of the door. Wang Daoyuan had already informed Zhang Mingguang that he would bring his family along when he returned to the Yen Kingdom. Although the Zhang family had already surrendered to the Yen Kingdom, his identity as a traitor of the Zhang family was still confirmed. Even if Zhang Dingming didn't say anything, the juniors of the Zhang family might target them. For safety's sake, it was better to send his family away. Wang Daoyuan walked out of the courtyard with the two little guys. Zhang Mingguang was already waiting outside with more than 30 people. When he saw Wang Daoyuan, he bowed and said, "Retired Emperor, my family is here. Please take them to the Linhai branch." His son was the deputy hall master of the Linhai branch. These families could also settle down there. "Don't worry. When we reach the Yen Kingdom, I'll send someone to send them there." The group of people followed Wang Daoyuan out of the Blood Shadow headquarters and came to the ground. Wang Daoyuan took out the 5th-grade flying boat. The group of people rode the flying boat and headed north. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had never been far from the small courtyard before. Now, not only could they run far away, but they could also fly in the sky. They were curious about everything they saw. Wang Mingxian pointed to the east and said, "Father, there's something very tall in the east. Is it the mountain mentioned in the book?" Wang Daoyuan nodded. "This is the tallest and longest mountain range in Beiyuan Xiuxian. It's called the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. Go north along this mountain range and you can return to the Yen Kingdom. Our Wang family's clansmen and your eldest brother are all there." Wang Mingren asked, "Why is it called the Sky Beheading Mountain Range? Has it been cut off?" "It has indeed been cut off. Hundreds of thousands of miles to the south is the break of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. When the Devil Race invaded, a sword immortal cut off the mountain range with a sword when killing the Devil Race." Wang Mingren had a yearning look on his face. He then asked who cut off the mountain range. Along the way, the two little fellows had to get to the bottom of everything they saw. Wang Daoyuan also patiently explained to the two of them. Every time they encountered a relatively good scenery, they begged Wang Daoyuan to stop and watch for a while. After 6 or 7 days, the flying boat finally entered the Yen Kingdom. Chapter 927. The flying boat flew above the river. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had seen many rivers along the way, but they were still very surprised when they saw Wanchuanha. Wang Mingren asked, "Father, is that a river?" Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Of course it's a river. This is the biggest river in Beiyuan Xiuxian. It's called Wanchuanha. The big river in the north that flows into Wanchuanha is called Qingli River. The source of Qingli River is our Wang family's Jade Spring Peak." The two little guys were so shocked by Wanchuanha that they couldn't speak. They just nodded in a daze. The flying boat landed at Wanchuanha Market and put down Zhang Mingguang's family. Jiaqi arranged for people to send them to the Linhai branch. Then the flying boat continued to head north. 4 hours later they arrived at Qingli City. Wang Mingxian looked at the city below and asked, "Father, is this our home? It's so beautiful." "This is Qingli City, so it's naturally our home. Your big brother lives here. You two can live here if you want." After saying that, the flying boat landed outside the palace. They walked into the palace and came to the imperial study where Wang Mingchen usually handled official business. Wang Shui and Wang Daochang were also here. Wang Mingchen's cultivation speed was indeed fast. He was already at the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. But it was normal. Wang Daoyuan used more than 20 years to cultivate from the early stage of the Golden Core realm to the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. Later on, it only took him 20 years to cultivate from the middle stage of the Golden Core realm to the late stage of the Golden Core realm. His cultivation speed relied on the spiritual fire to save time refining spirit chi, so his cultivation speed was comparable to ordinary cultivators with heavenly spirit roots. Wang Mingchen himself had a heavenly spirit root, so his speed of condensing vital essence was much faster than Wang Daoyuan. Also, the Namingli fire increased the speed of refining spirit chi. Golden Core realm didn't need to consider the balance of the 5 elements, so it was natural for his cultivation speed to be faster than Wang Daoyuan. Seeing Wang Daoyuan bring the two little guys in, Wang Mingchen bowed and said, "Greetings, father. Are they Mingren and Mingxian?" After saying that, he pinched their little faces. Wang Mingxian only looked at Wang Mingchen curiously. Wang Mingren was fearless. "If you dare to bully me and my sister, I'll beat you up." Wang Mingchen laughed. "Why would I bully you? I'm your brother, don't you think I look familiar?" Wang Mingxian replied, "You look like my mother, but why is your hair red?" "My hair was also black in the past, but after my vermilion bird bloodline awakened, my hair became fiery red. Don't you see Imperial Father also has a strand of red hair on his head? Now that you know who I am, why don't you call me Big Brother?" There were many members of the same generation in the Wang clan. Other than those who were ranked at the top, they didn't refer to the others by their ranks. Wang Mingchen was also very small in the Ming generation. He was ranked in the 300th place. Wang Mingxian cupped her hands obediently and said, "Brother?" Wang Mingren also stopped being stubborn and followed suit. Wang Mingchen took out some spirit fruits and said, "Good girl, take this and eat it." "Father, Ming Ren and Ming Xian's physiques are not ordinary. How are their spiritual roots?" "Ming Ren has a 9-inch 9-part metal spiritual root while Ming Xian has a 9-inch 7-part wood spiritual root. However, their physiques are very special, so I can't tell. Ancestor Myriad Spirits is experienced and knowledgeable, so you should be able to see some clues." Wang Mingchen was a little surprised. Ming Ren's spiritual root is strong enough. Coupled with his special physique, he is also a rare genius. With that, he summoned the 10,000 Spirits Pagoda and Ancestor Myriad Spirits appeared. This gave the two little guys a fright. Wang Mingxian was more timid and directly hid behind Wang Daoyuan. Wang Mingren was more daring. He took out his short sword magic weapon and was about to attack. Wang Daoyuan touched their heads and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid. This is an artifact spirit. It listens to your big brother and won't hurt you." Ancestor Myriad Spirit's eyes emitted golden light as he carefully examined their bodies. A moment later, a look of shock appeared on his face. After being stunned for a long time, his expression turned nostalgic and sorrowful. His expression changed several times before it turned into joy. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Ancestor Myriad Spirits, don't keep us in suspense. What's the deal with their special physiques? Say something." Ancestor Myriad Spirits sighed. "Their physiques are indeed extraordinary, especially Ming Xian's physique. Reminds me of an old master. Her physique is also a kind of spiritual body, but not all spiritual bodies are the same. The most common spiritual body is Wang Delin's water spiritual body. Ming Xian's physique is a rare wood spiritual body called wood spiritual body. This kind of physique is very rare. In the history of the Valley of Beasts, only one person has appeared, and that was Divine Sovereign Greenwood. When he cultivated to the foundation establishment stage, he could directly communicate with spiritual plants and understand their meaning. When he reached the Purple Mansion realm, he could directly control all kinds of spiritual plants to fight against enemies. He was not like ordinary wood attribute cultivators who still needed to use their own magic to grow suitable spiritual plants. Back then, Divine Sovereign Greenwood's Purple Mansion anomaly was a small green sapling that emitted a strong vitality. He also used his Purple Mansion anomaly to control spiritual plants. Ming Xian's physique is not much different from his, so she will probably be able to do this in the future. By the way, is this little girl particularly interested in spiritual plants? Wang Daoyuan nodded. Indeed, I opened up a small spiritual field for her in the courtyard of Bloodshadow's headquarters. Ever since she learned how to walk, she has spent most of her time taking care of the spiritual field. That's right. This kind of physique is naturally close to spiritual plants. Divine Sovereign Greenwood was the only 8th-level spiritual plant farmer in the entire Qian Yuan realm. Even those Earth Immortals were far inferior to him. She also cultivates the Yi-Wood immortality technique, right? That's very suitable. Although her fighting strength is weak now, once she reaches the Purple Mansion realm, her strength will not be inferior to sword cultivation geniuses of the same level. If she is in a place with more high-level spiritual plants, she will be truly invincible among her peers. Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed. As an old father, he was naturally gratified that his daughter could be so promising. Ancestor Myriad Spirits continued, "As for Ming Ren's physique, it is also a type of combat physique. This type of combat physique is rare and is called sword physique. Anyone with this physique is born with a sharp aura in their body. All of them are natural sword cultivators. Sword physiques are more common than the Yi-Wood spiritual physique, but there are many types. This physique is somewhat related to bloodline inheritance. When I looked at his physique, I didn't find any bloodline of an expert sword cultivator. His sword physique is most likely influenced by your sword aura or sword spirit. I think he cultivates the killing sword art of White Tiger Hall, which is extremely suitable. It is also possible to let him cultivate the Guiyuan sword art. However, the Guiyuan sword art is a non-elemental cultivation technique. It is best for cultivators with 5 spiritual roots to cultivate. Guiyuan Sword Immortal's eldest disciple, Guiyuan, had a metal attribute heavenly spiritual root and also had a sword physique. Such a genius was personally taught by Guiyuan Sword Immortal, but in the end he was only barely able to enter the ranks of mighty figures. Although the killing sword art is not as brilliant as the Guiyuan sword art, it is more suitable for cultivators with metal spiritual roots. When he cultivates to a high enough realm, he can deduce the cultivation technique on his own. The appearance of a spirit body has nothing to do with bloodline. It is basically luck. The appearance of a sword physique has a lot to do with bloodline. Since Wang Mingren did not have the bloodline of an expert sword cultivator, he was most likely influenced by the sword spirit. Before Zhou Wan was pregnant with the two of them, Wang Daoyuan helped Guiyuan sword immortal temper the Guiyuan sword in the decimating heaven abyss. He should have been influenced by the sword spirit. In addition, the 5 artifact spirits that he tempered were about to take form. They would more or less be influenced. Wang Daoyuan summoned Yinglong, and Patriarch Myriad Spirits hurriedly hid in the Myriad Spirits pagoda. I say, Grand Emperor, I didn't do anything. Why did you summon this living ancestor? You have lived for more than 200,000 years. Do you have to be so afraid? Previously, I used Guiyuan Sword Immortal's inheritance to nurture a few embryonic artifact spirits. They were nurtured by a massive amount of heaven and earth's gifts, as well as Yinglong's power. However, they have always been stuck at the threshold of taking form, unable to become true artifact spirits. As a senior among the artifact spirits, you should guide them. Chapter 928. Back when he was in the Qixing Si Xiuxing community, he had already nurtured 5 embryonic forms of artifact spirits. It had been nearly 60 years since then. During this period he had received many gifts from the heavens and the earth and had eaten a lot of the essence of the 5 elements spiritual fire. Coupled with Yinglong's charm and extremely strong luck, the foundation of ordinary artifact spirits could not be compared to the 5 of them. Now, their state was very close to that of a normal artifact spirit, but they could not take the last step. Yinglong spat out 5 light balls with a diameter of more than 5 inches, which quickly turned into the appearance of the 5 elements divine beasts. They were not weak in terms of movement and strength, but their intelligence was obviously lacking. Once artifact spirits were born, their intelligence was close to that of humans. Moreover, they would have different personalities according to their own laws. These 5 embryonic forms of artifact spirits were completely at the mercy of others. Their intelligence was extremely low, and they only had the most basic instincts. Ancestor Myriad Spirits came out of the 10,000 Spirits Pagoda and looked at the 5 embryonic forms of artifact spirits. Even an old monster like him who had lived for more than 200,000 years could not help but reveal an envious expression. These 5 little guys have been fed too many good things by you, and Yinglong has nurtured them personally, so their luck is too strong. If they can become true artifact spirits, the possibility of them becoming spirit clan members in the future is very high. However, their success is due to their foundation, and their failure is also due to their foundation. They have not been able to take the next step and become true artifact spirits because their foundation is too strong. You human geniuses and semi-divine beasts all have extremely strong heavenly tribulations, and artifact spirits are the same. The 5 of them are equivalent to the peerless geniuses of the human race. Their talent is too strong, so it is naturally difficult to form them. As long as one was a nascent soul cultivator, they would be able to nurture an ordinary artifact spirit. The strength of these 5 artifact spirits has already reached the peak of the 5th stage. After they have developed intelligence, they will have a big breakthrough and may reach the 6th stage as soon as they are formed. You are only a peak Yuanian cultivator now, so you can't nurture a 6th stage artifact spirit. Once you break through to the soul formation realm, there should be no problem. Wang Daoyuan nodded. I thought it was almost time to nurture them, but I didn't expect that I would have to wait for a while. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian couldn't move their eyes away from the weapon spirit. The 5-inch-long artifact spirits looked like pets. Wang Mingren chased after the White Tiger artifact spirit while Wang Mingxian chased after the Azure Dragon artifact spirit. The auras of these 2 artifact spirits were similar to their special constitutions, which was very attractive to them. Patriarch Myriad Spirit said, "This artifact spirit of yours was refined from Sword Immortal Guiyuan's legacy. I believe it's the 3 treasures artifact nurturing technique. Back when Sword Immortal Guiyuan created this mystic art to nurture artifact spirits, he had consulted me. From the looks of it, he should have succeeded. The 3 treasures tool nurturing technique was mainly used to nurture a sword spirit. It seemed like Ming Ren's sword body was affected by the White Tiger tool spirit. It's just that your nurturing method is a little wrong. If you nurture it in Yinglong's body, you'll be able to obtain extremely strong luck and the charm of the 5 elements divine beasts. However, they were artifact spirits after all. They couldn't stay in contact with artifacts for a long time, so their connection with artifacts was very weak. Without the support of an artifact, the artifact spirit would be flawed. It seems that this artifact spirit hasn't taken shape yet. It should be because of the lack of contact with artifacts. If this goes on, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to fully take shape when you break through to the soul formation realm." Wang Daoyuan nodded. Indeed, I've been keeping them inside Raindragon's body. I'll only put them into my magic tool when I'm about to unleash my killing move. It seems that I'll have to put them in artifacts in the future. By the way, Mingchen, how's the situation of the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce? Wang Mingchen replied, now the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce has set up a headquarters and 4 branches. The headquarters is in Qingli City. The 4 branches are in Linhai Prefecture, Myriad Rivers Market, Guiyan City, and Falling Star Plain. I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce. There are 2 vice presidents, Brother Mingkong and Uncle 27th. I'm just a nominal leader. After all, the others don't have enough prestige in such a big business. The usual affairs are left to the vice presidents. In order to control the situation, Brother Mingkong has also formed his corps. After the Chamber of Commerce was established, it recruited rogue cultivators wantonly. Now it has recruited more than 30 Zifu realm rogue cultivators, more than 500 Foundation Establishment rogue cultivators, and more than 3,000 Qi Refinement rogue cultivators. This was because the Chamber of Commerce had just started and the businesses it developed were too few. When those businesses started to produce large amounts of resources, it could use these resources to recruit more rogue cultivators. After the Zhang family surrendered, Mingkong and Uncle 27th also contacted Hall Master Sanhe. He also agreed to join the Chamber of Commerce. When we have enough people here and discuss with the state of Zhao, we can set up chambers of commerce everywhere in the state of Zhao. Naturally, there were some Wang family disciples and Blood Shadow disciples in the Chamber of Commerce. With all of them added together, their strength was comparable to the Netherworld sect from before. And it had only been 5 years since the Chamber of Commerce was established. You've done very well. I sent you a letter to set up a few counties in the northern part of the mountain. How's it going now? Wang Mingchen replied, I've set up a territory to the west of Guiyan County that is 100,000 miles long from east to west and 10,000 miles wide from north to south. I've set up the South Desert County to settle the Sioux family disciples. In the future, when the Sioux family has Yuanian cultivators, they can also come over to serve as the governor of South Desert County. In addition to the west of South Desert County and Falling Stars County, I've set up a Hanhai County that is 20,000 miles wide from east to west and 50,000 miles long from north to south to settle the Zhang family. This Hanhai County is about the same size as South Desert County, but more than half of it is desert. However, the desert in the north of Hanhai County has many rivers that originate from Mount Huiyan. There are many oases that are much better than Falling Stars County. The Zhang family surrendered later than the Su family and opposed Imperial Mother. Even if they surrendered now, their treatment should be worse than the Su family. However, in order to keep the Su family in check, they can't be too weak. Therefore, I've made this arrangement. If Imperial Father has no objections, I can issue an edict at any time to appoint Zhang Dingming as the governor of Yan County's Hanhai County. Wang Daoyuan was very satisfied. Not bad. You've learned how to balance the various powers. I have nothing to worry about when I leave the affairs of the state of Yan to you. I'll take Ming Ren and Ming Xian to acknowledge their ancestors first. You can decide on these matters yourself. After saying that, Wang Daoyuan recalled the 5 weapon spirits and left the imperial study with the 2 children. They sat on the flying boat and flew towards Yuchuan Peak. After more than 10 years, the grade of Yuchuan Peak's spirit vein has improved by quite a bit. Previously, it was only at the upper grade of the 4th rank. Now it has reached the peak of the 4th rank and is only a step away from the 5th rank. Of course, the spirit vein in Qingli City has also improved, but it hasn't reached the upper grade of the 4th rank yet. After all, the foundation of the spirit vein there is a bit worse. Its growth is already somewhat weak. It still needs a long time to grow to the 5th rank. The flying boat landed on Yuchuan Peak. Patriarch Wang Mingshan and Wang Daoshu came out to welcome them. The 2 little guys have good memories. When they saw Wang Daoshu, they rushed over and called her 8th aunt. Wang Daoshu hugged them in her arms and smiled. I didn't dote on you 2 little things for nothing. You still remember aunt. Wang Mingchen cupped his hands and said, 7th uncle, the ancestral recognition has been prepared. We can start at any time. Wang Daoyuan smiled and nodded. This matter can be handled by you as the patriarch. Soon, the 2 of them changed into the Wang family's white robes with dragon and fish patterns. Wang Mingshan brought them into the ancestral hall and kowtowed to the ancestral tablets. Then their names were recorded in the family tree. Then a wisp of their soul was extracted to refine a soul lamp. At this point, the 2 of them officially acknowledged their ancestors. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to look at the family tree. The 2 of them were already ranked after the 500th rank. There are many people in the family, so it is quite difficult to figure out who is older and who is younger. At this moment, a wave of spirit energy came from a cave abode beside the Jade Dragon Spring. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to investigate. It turned out that a family member had broken through. He carefully investigated and found that this person was the second cultivator of the Wang family with the heavenly spirit root, Wang Delan. He was only in his 30s now, and his cultivation had already reached the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Chapter 929. He was already at the 9th level of Foundation Establishment before the age of 35. At this rate, Wang Delan would be able to open his Violet Palace in 3 to 5 years. A Violet Palace realm cultivator before the age of 40 was extremely rare even among the top powers. Even if he were to accumulate in the Violet Palace realm, he would be able to form his gold core at around 100 years old. The cultivation speed of a heavenly spirit root and a spiritual body was truly terrifying. Wang Delan only had a 9.3-inch water spirit root, while his daughter had a 9.7-inch wood spirit root and a E-wood spiritual body. In terms of cultivation speed, she should be faster than Wang Delan. Moreover, the profound sky emerald spirit peach kernels and the spirit pearl could increase the height of a wood spirit root. When the peach tree bore fruit, he could use the kernels to increase the height of Wang Mingxian's spirit root. In this way, it was possible to create a cultivator with a 1-foot heavenly spirit root and a spiritual body. This kind of talent had only appeared in the Valley of Beasts back then, and it was also nurtured by the profound sky emerald spirit peach kernels. After Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian acknowledged their ancestors, Wang Daoyuan brought them out of the ancestral shrine and to the ancestral grave at the back of the mountain. Among the graves of the Shou generation, there was an especially large grave. This was the grave where Wang Daoyuan's parents were buried together. When ordinary clansmen were buried in the ancestral grave, their graves were mostly at the edge of the graveyard. It was already extremely rare for them to be buried together with other clansmen. They were the only ones whose grave was larger than the other clansmen's. Father, Mother, Zhou and I have given you a grandson and a granddaughter. Their cultivation talent is even better than Mingqian's. Mingren Mingxian, this is your grandparents' grave. Kowtow to them 3 times and let them see their grandson and granddaughter. The 2 little fellows were quite obedient and kowtowed to their grandparents. According to the clan's rules, children who had reached adulthood and started cultivating had to cultivate in the Wang clan's 100 Arts Hall. This was done to help the children cultivate and to foster a sense of belonging to the clan. Of course, it was also to control them. Children in their teens were at the age where they had strength but nowhere to use it. However, these children had already cultivated. If they weren't controlled, they could really poke a hole in the sky. Wang Daoyuan brought them to the west side of the Jade Spring Peak, where there was a flat land that covered an area of more than 20 mu. On the flat ground, more than 20 spacious wooden huts were built using spirit wood. Inside each wooden hut, there were a dozen to dozens of teenagers. From time to time, the sound of a lecture and children asking questions could be heard from the room. Of course, there were also the delightful cries of naughty children. Wang Daoyuan probed with his divine sense and found a middle-aged clansman slapping a child's palm. As he fought, he said, "Each of you drew 20 rain dissipation talismans. I only asked you to draw the talisman inscriptions. Everyone else has finished, but you forgot to bring it. I asked you to go back and get it, but you said you left it in Qingli City." Wang Daoyuan couldn't help but laugh. Different worlds, same excuse. This large building looked a bit like a school in his previous life. This was the Wang clan's 100 Arts Hall. Cultivators would stay here to study from the moment they started cultivating. After they reached the age of 20, they would work in various industries according to their abilities. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had a very good foundation. After all, they were personally taught by Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan, 2 Yuanine cultivators. What they needed to learn was the 100 arts of cultivation. If it weren't for the sake of cultivating their sense of belonging to the clan, they would have been allowed to cultivate in the imperial palace of Qingli City. With the guidance of the old antique ancestor myriad spirits, it would be much better than here. Wang Daoyuan didn't deliberately conceal his aura. Soon, a middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator came out. He bowed and said, "Grandson Wang Dixiang greets 7th granduncle, uncle and aunt." Wang Dixiang wasn't very old, only 150 or 60 years old. He had a high chance of forming his gold core. He was the hall master of the 100 Arts Hall, which was equivalent to the headmaster of the Wang clan's private school. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Mingren and Mingxian will cultivate here for the time being. Your Granny 7th and I have already taught them the general knowledge of cultivation. You can arrange for them to learn the 100 arts of cultivation. Mingxian is extremely talented as a spirit plant farmer. She can also be nurtured as a spirit chef and alchemist. Mingren is suitable for the path of artifact forging. You can also teach him a bit about formations. Their cultivation speed is too fast. I'm worried that their foundation won't be stable. Try to arrange more time for them to learn the 100 arts of cultivation. Wang Dexiang cupped his hands and said, "Don't worry, 7th granduncle. I'll arrange it well." Wang Daoyuan nodded. Mingren Mingxian, you two cultivate here. Listen to the elders. I've already sent a message to Wang Bei. He'll be here soon. He'll take care of you. If there's something he can't solve, he'll inform me. Before he finished speaking, a white cloud floated over from the southeast. Soon, the white cloud landed on the mountain top. A muscular man wearing a black leather robe descended from the white cloud. Wang Daoyuan introduced, Mingren Mingxian, this is Wang Bei. You can call him Uncle Black in the future. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian bowed and said, Greetings, Uncle Black. Dahei, I'll leave these two little guys to you. Don't worry, second young master. I'm familiar with this job. Mingren Mingxian, I'll protect you in the future. If you don't cultivate in the 100 Arts Hall, I'll beat you up for your parents. Your big brother Wang Mingchen was also beaten up by me when he was young. The two little guys looked at Dahei. He looked very similar to Wang Daoyuan, so they weren't too afraid. Wang Dexiang called over 2 Foundation Establishment juniors and brought Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian to 2 wooden houses to learn with the other disciples. Wang Daoyuan said a few more words to Dahei. Then he left the Jade Spring Peak and flew east. Dahei found a place nearby to meditate. 15 minutes later, Wang Daoyuan arrived near the Sky/Mountain Range's main mountain range. Previously he had refined the 5th grade sword puppet Shenji. However, the Blood Shadow's headquarters was too small. There wasn't a place for it to familiarize itself with battle. The 5th grade sword puppet had also grasped the Guiyuan sword intent. Its strength wasn't inferior to those great demon kings. The only one who could spar with it was Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan released Shenji and ordered it to attack him. It instantly turned into a silver light and attacked him. Then Shenji used the Heavenly Dipper Sword formation to surround Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan also condensed the Heavenly Dipper Sword formation and clashed head-on with Shenji's sword formation. The result was self-evident. Shenji's sword formation directly shattered. Wang Daoyuan didn't attack again. Instead, he let Shenji continue to attack. 2 months later, Shenji could already skillfully use the sword cultivation techniques he had learned. Although he was still unable to withstand a single blow from Wang Daoyuan. However, it was definitely not a problem to deal with a great demon king. Especially since Shenji had 2 things to track the enemy. One was a compass and the other was a secret technique. Wang Daoyuan couldn't hide from it even if he used the hidden demon art. He put Shenji into the space of the Spirit Pearl and returned to the Jade Spring Peak. In these 2 months, Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian had already adapted to life in the 100 Arts Hall. Whenever they were free, they would go to Wang Daoshu's place to eat and drink. Their days were pretty good. A few days after Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak, he received a message from his master, Perfected Lei Yan. He brought Wang Daoyin and Wang Mingting to the Jade Spring Peak to see Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian. They were about to reach the territory of the Yan Kingdom. Wang Daoyuan also took a flying boat and headed south. As soon as he arrived at Wanchuan Market, he saw a flying boat of the Divine Weapon Pavilion coming from the south. Seeing Wang Daoyuan coming to welcome him, Wang Daoyin stood on the bow of the boat and shouted, "Second brother, I'm here to see you." With that, he flew over from the Divine Weapon Pavilion's flying boat. He was already at the late stage of the Golden Core realm. When the demon beasts rebelled, Perfected Lei Yan was already prepared to die in battle. Disciples with high potential like him were all hidden in some mystic realms. After dealing with the demon race, Wang Daoyin had been in seclusion. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Third brother, we brothers haven't seen each other for many years. Isn't that so? You've left the cultivation world of the Northern Abyss for decades. After you came back, I have been in seclusion. If it weren't for the excuse of visiting his nephew and niece, I'm afraid Master wouldn't have let me out." Chapter 930. Lei Yin also came out of the cabin and stood at the bow. "You are my only personal disciple. You are only 10 years younger than Daoyuan, and you started cultivating only 10 years later. Daoyuan is already at the peak of Yuanying, and you haven't even reached the peak of the Golden Core realm. Although the demons don't dare to show up now, there is still danger. Without the Yuanying realm, you can't even protect yourself. Ming Ting is your disciple and he is already at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. I told you to cultivate in seclusion because I expected better from you. Wang Daoyin didn't take it seriously. My second brother is a rare genius. If it weren't for my special physique, I would only be an ordinary person. If I compete with him in cultivation speed, wouldn't I be asking for trouble? Taoist Thunderflame's face was filled with disappointment, but he didn't say anything else. Soon he heard a sound coming from his body. Lei Yin, let me out. I haven't seen my big brother for many years. I miss him. Lei Yin couldn't do anything to him, so he took out the purple gold exquisite pagoda. Ling Long also flew out of the pagoda and landed on Wang Daoyuan's shoulder. Big brother, long time no see. Give me something to eat. Wang Daoyuan took out 5 rootless fires and gave them to Ling Long. Not bad. Your strength has recovered to the middle of the 5th rank. She swallowed all the rootless fires. You can only blame yourself for being too useless. If I followed you, I would have broken through to the peak of the 5th rank. Lei Yin was now at the middle stage of Yuanying. He was the first Yuanying cultivator after the decline of the spiritual aura in Beiyuan Xiuxian. It had been more than 100 years since he broke through to the Yuanying realm. His talent was not bad, at least much better than Wang Daoyin's. Unfortunately, the spiritual aura recovery time was too short. Otherwise, he would have been at the late stage of Yuanying. Wang Daoyuan released a lot of rootless fires and Ling Long also ate and drank. The flying boat soon arrived at the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan sent a message to Dahe and learned that the 2 little guys were eating at 8th Ant's place. Dahe quickly brought them over, along with Wang Daoshu and Zhao Liang. When the 2 saw Taoist Thunderflame, they hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." Taoist Thunderflame waved his hand. "There's no need to be so courteous. Looks like the rumors are true. Daoyuan, you really did obtain the inheritance of the man-made purple mansion phenomenon in the Valley of Beasts. Unfortunately, the Valley of Beasts, the #1 power in Beiyuan in the past, was annihilated by the demonic beasts. Otherwise, with the support of the Valley of Beasts, the human race would not have suffered such heavy losses during the chaos of the demon race 10,000 years ago." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Your disciple has indeed received some inheritances from the Valley of Beasts. However, the Wang family's foundation is too weak. It will take a long time to digest these inheritances." Lei Yin Jinren nodded. "Let's not talk about this. Ming Ren and Ming Xian are only 10 years old, right? They've already reached Qi Disciple Stage 5. Now that the Spirit Qi had recovered, cultivators' cultivation speed was getting faster and faster. At this rate, they might be able to form their nascent souls before they're 200 years old. If they cultivate too fast, their foundations might become unstable. It's better to suppress their cultivation speed. Right? How are their spirit roots? Ming Ren has a 9-inch 9-point metal spirit root. His physique is sword body. Ming Xian has a 9-inch 7-point wood spirit root. Her physique is spirit body. Wang Ming Ren and Wang Ming Xian were a bit shy. They just stared at Wang Daoyin. Wang Daoyuan introduced him to them. "This is Grandmaster and also my master. This one looks like me and is your 3rd uncle. He's also my younger brother." They obediently bowed. "Greetings, Grandmaster. Greetings, 3rd uncle." Lei Yin Jinren stroked his beard and laughed. "These 2 children are even more talented than Ming Chen. It won't be difficult for them to cultivate to the Yuanying stage. I heard that the Wang family also produced a water spirit body with a heaven spirit root. They're really lucky." Then he took out 2 storage bags. "This is a gift for my 2 grand disciples. My current refining skills are not as good as yours. Don't dislike this gift." Wang Daoyuan took the storage bags. "Master, how can your gift be bad? How can I dislike it?" Wang Daoyin also took out 2 storage bags. "As their uncle, I have to do something. These are some small things I refined for my nephews and nieces to play with." Wang Daoyuan looked at the storage bags. There were some protective magic weapons in them, so he put them away. "They're protected by Dahe now. There won't be any problems. I'll keep these things and give them to them when they grow up." Wang Daoyin glanced at Dahe and asked, "Is this Dahe? I didn't dare to recognize it after it transformed. I thought it was another genius descendant of Big Brother. Dahe, why did you transform into Big Brother?" Dahe laughed. "I have to look like a human. I'm most familiar with young master, so I can only transform into his appearance." Lei Yin looked at it for a while and asked, "Dahe, has he awakened the bloodline of an ancient beast? The aura on his body reminds me of the West Sea Demon clan." Master is really wise. Dahe has the bloodline of the heavenly dog, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth can't stimulate it. I killed a lot of West Sea Demon Clan before and used their blood essence to refine pills. These pills are cheap for Dahe. His heavenly dog bloodline is getting stronger and stronger. Lei Yin nodded. It's really good. With the awakening of the heavenly dog bloodline, it won't be a problem for him to cultivate to the 5th level in the future. Not long after, the banquet prepared by Wang Daoshu was served. Most of the people present were body refiners, so they were very interested in food. Lei Yin said while eating, Daoyin's cooking skills are too bad. I haven't eaten such delicious food in a long time. You gave him so many recipes but he didn't learn any of them. You've ruined so many good ingredients in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Wang Daoyin didn't show any weakness. You still have the nerve to talk about me. Every time I cook, you blindly direct me. Sometimes you even do it yourself. The food I make isn't that delicious, but it's still edible. It's against my conscience to say that the food you make is edible. You don't have Dao Yuan's talent in cultivation, and you can't compare to him in alchemy, tools, and talisman arrays. You can't even look at your cooking skills. You were such an honest child back then, but now you talk back to me. When you return to Jade Spring Peak this time, don't even think about leaving if you don't learn some of Daoshu's cooking skills. After eating for a while, Wang Daoshu served several star-patterned sea cucumbers. Daoist Thunder Flame took a bite and revealed an astonished expression. I've eaten a lot of sea cucumbers, but it's the first time I've eaten a 5th-level sea cucumber, and it even contains star power. This thing is definitely a treasure for body refiners. Where did you catch it? I'll go to the sea and catch some later. Our Beiyuan doesn't produce this thing. These sea cucumbers were all caught overseas. There's a special kind of spatial magic artifact over there that allows demon beasts and spirit plants to live and reproduce. It's just that this magic artifact is far inferior to a secret realm. It can only rely on external energy to maintain the stability of the space. I bought one over there and raised some star-patterned sea cucumbers in it. He took out a jade slip. This magic artifact isn't much different from a cosmos ring. It's just that the requirements for the materials are higher. Back in the day, the ancestors of the Valley of Beasts all traveled overseas and mastered the refining method of this magic artifact. I don't have any use for these things at the moment, so I haven't refined them. If you want to raise star-patterned sea cucumbers, you still need star power and a 5th-level star core and a spatial treasure. This is the refining method for a life spirit ring. Master, you can give it a try. Lei Yin waved his hand. The Divine Weapon Pavilion controls many secret realms. This kind of storage space isn't very useful. However, this thing is still very valuable to wandering cultivators and some small factions. You can refine some and use them to earn spirit stones. The Divine Weapon Pavilion has a large business and won't compete with you for business. Chapter 931. They stayed at Jade Spring Peak for a few days, while Thunder Flame and Wang Daoyin continued to tear each other down. I've been eating Daoyin's cooking for a long time. As a Yuanian cultivator, I almost had a stomachache, but I've finally recovered. I've been guarding the West Sea all these years, and then I went into seclusion to cultivate. I haven't seen Mingchen for many years. Let's go to Qingli City to see him. Ever since Clear Glass City was established, I've never been there. Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections. He took out his flying boat and flew south with Thunder Flame and Wang Daoyin. Arriving at the Imperial Study, Wang Mingchen hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Grand Master. Greetings, Royal Father. Greetings, Third Uncle. Thunder Flame nodded. No need for formalities. You're indeed a cultivation genius. You're already at Mid-Aurus Core. Did you see that, Daoyin? Your nephew's cultivation is almost catching up to yours. The two of them bickered all day long, and Thunder Flame would find an opportunity to mock Wang Daoyin. Of course, Wang Daoyin was not to be outdone, and always retaliated without hesitation. Without waiting for Wang Mingchen to reply, Patriarch Myriad Spirits took the initiative to come out. I can sense that little girl Linglong is here. Come out and meet me. I've been sleeping for tens of thousands of years, and I can finally see an acquaintance. Thunderflame took out Linglong Pagoda and Linglong flew out. She was pleasantly surprised to see Patriarch Myriad Spirits. Brother Myriad Spirits, we haven't seen each other for tens of thousands of years since the Valley of Beasts was destroyed. I thought you were gone. Nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. I was forged by the Myriad Beast's supremacy and an Earth Immortal. Who has the ability to kill me? Thunderflame cupped his hands. Junior Thunderflame, the successor of the treasured Cauldron lineage, greets Patriarch Myriad Spirits. Patriarch Myriad Spirits' eyes glowed purplish gold as he carefully looked at Thunderflame. You're indeed a descendant of the Purple Thunder's supremacy. It's not easy for this constitution to be passed down to this day. Speaking of which, I have some ties with your ancestor, the Purple Thunder Supremacy. Perfected Thunder Flame was dumbfounded. Wang Daoyuan explained, previously Patriarch Myriad Spirit took a look at my providence and said that I possessed the bloodline of the Purple Lightning Divine Supremacy. The Purple Thunder deity's ability was the Purple Thunder Divine Flame. For Master to be able to awaken such a divine ability, he must be a descendant of the Purple Thunder divinity. Lei Yanjinren finally understood and asked, the 10,000 Spirits Pagoda is the magic weapon of the previous sect masters of the Valley of Beasts. How did it end up in Ming Chen's hands? Patriarch Myriad Spirit said, now Wang Mingchen is the sect master of the Valley of Beasts. Although his cultivation is a little weak, his talent is enough. Even I have recognized him as my master. Venerable Lei Yen was a little confused. So, the Valley of Beasts hasn't been destroyed? That didn't seem right either. The Valley of Beasts had always been very strict when it came to choosing successors. No matter how strong Ming Chen is, he didn't grow up in the Valley of Beasts. Patriarch Myriad Spirit said with a smile, most of the ancient secrets of your four sects have been destroyed, so it's normal that you don't know about them. However, Ling Long had lived for more than 100,000 years. She should know about these things. Otherwise he wouldn't have called him Big Brother. What? He didn't tell you? Lei Yanjinren was still very puzzled. Ling Long replied, although I don't know as much as you, I still know a little. The Dragon of Destiny is not only the ancestor of the 5 elements divine beasts, but also the strongest of the spirit race. Which of us, the artifact spirits, doesn't know about him? It's just that Dao Yuan's foundation is still too weak. Beiyuan Xiuxin is so dilapidated that it's almost impossible to support a huge force. If he wants to fight with the big forces of the Qianyuan world, his chances of winning are slim. Rather than die, it's better to live well in Beiyuan. Patriarch Myriad Spirit chuckled. You're too naive. Do you think he can stay out of this matter just because he doesn't want to? For those big forces he's a fat piece of meat. They can climb up the social ladder and submit to him. In the future they can get some of his destiny. If he's really unreliable they can capture him and give him to the other children of destiny to exchange for wealth. If he becomes the child of destiny he can either commit suicide or live well. The inheritance of the Valley of Beasts has almost been cut off. Other than taking a gamble we have no other choice. Besides there's always a way out. Since Dao Yuan has this opportunity the heavenly Dao won't watch him die. Otherwise why would the spiritual qi of Beiyuan Xiuxin recover? Ling Long sighed, if it were me I would definitely give it a try. If I succeed I might become a spirit. Even if I fail the winner won't destroy the artifact. But I have a master and I can't make the decision. Their echoes confused Taoist Lei Yen. What are you talking about? Can you make it clear? Why do I feel like I'm a burden? Exquisite replied, the records of the Divine Weapon Pavilion before the appearance of the decimating heaven abyss have mostly been destroyed. You know too little. To put it simply, the Qianyuan world is in trouble again. The will of this world, which is what we call the heavenly Tao, has already foreseen the impending disaster. In order to protect himself, he will cultivate a group of cultivators with great destiny, known as the Children of Destiny. Their growth speed is extremely fast, far surpassing that of ordinary cultivators. When they reach the realm of a mighty figure, a war of destiny will erupt. The various Children of Destiny will conquer each other, defeat their opponents and fight for destiny. In the end, a child of destiny will win and become the leader of the human race, quelling the disaster. Dao Yuan is one of those Children of Destiny, or else he wouldn't be where he is today. The previous leader of the human race was Sword Immortal Gui Yuan, who died in the end to resist the demons. It's unknown when the next great calamity will be, but since the Children of Destiny have appeared, it shouldn't be far. These Children of Destiny have to conquer each other, and they need the support of a large faction. The faction that defected to the Children of Destiny will also receive some destiny, and their strength will greatly increase. If the Children of Destiny win in the end, the faction that defected can also use this to grow into the top faction in the entire Qianyuan world. The Valley of Beasts is now under Dao Yuan's command. How will the Divine Weapon Pavilion choose in the future? Taoist Lei Yen was still in a daze, but Wang Daoyin was already very excited. That means second brother can become a mighty figure in the future? Our treasure tripod lineage's founder was only a Mahayana cultivator. Seeing that Taoist Lei Yen was still in a daze, Wang Daoyin persuaded, Master, what else do you have to consider? He is my second brother and your in-name disciple. Can our treasure tripod lineage disassociate ourselves from this matter? There's no way to hide, so we can only follow second brother wholeheartedly. If second brother wins, the Divine Weapon Pavilion will receive the greatest benefits and become the top faction in the Qianyuan world. If he fails, even if we don't submit to him, we will be implicated. Taoist Lei Yan looked at Wang Daoyin in surprise. When did your brain become so good? Could it be that you are also affected by Dao Yuan's destiny? However, you are right. Dao Yuan is my in-name disciple, so there's no way we can stay out of this. The only hope for the treasure tripod lineage to continue is for Dao Yuan to become the final victor. He bowed at Wang Daoyuan. The treasure tripod lineage is willing to serve you as our master. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly supported him. No matter what level I cultivate to in the future, you will always be my master. How can a master bow to his disciple? Taoist Lei Yan smiled. In the future I will sell my old life to you. As for the pavilion master's lineage's choice, I can't control it. I can only try my best to persuade them to submit to you. However, the founder of the Pavilion Master's lineage is the disciple of a mighty figure. In the future, when the War of Destiny erupts, their choice of side will depend on that mighty figure. If that mighty figure doesn't think highly of you, I can only leave the Divine Weapon Pavilion with the Treasure Tripod lineage's properties and submit to the Yen Kingdom. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. There's no need to be so anxious. I'm only at the peak of the Yuanying realm now. I am thousands of miles away from the mighty figure realm. Even Guiyuan Sword Immortal took thousands of years to cultivate to the mighty figure realm. It won't be too late to subdue them after I cultivate to the soul formation realm. It will also give the Yen Kingdom plenty of time to grow. Otherwise, the Yen Kingdom will be too weak and bully its master. Chapter 932. If he wanted to compete with the Children of Destiny south of Decimating Heaven Abyss, he would need to be extremely powerful. With Beiyuan Xiuxian's little foundation, it was already extremely difficult to achieve this. However, Beiyuan also had a great advantage, that was Guiyuan Sword Immortal was guarding Decimating Heaven Abyss. If people and demonic beasts south of Decimating Heaven Abyss dared to come, they would have to ask Guiyuan Sword if he agreed. In the future, Beiyuan could be his backyard. If he couldn't unify Beiyuan, his backyard wouldn't be stable. How could he talk about war? Of course, now was not the time to make a move. To unify Beiyuan, it was best to infiltrate under the name of the Chamber of Commerce. Lei Yin smiled. You've always been smart, I don't need to tell you what to do. Since I've decided to help you, then I'll do my best. The southern wasteland is fine, junior brother Yunhe and the others have already broken through to the Yuanying realm, and Treasured Cauldron Mountain doesn't need me to oversee it. Wang Clan's foundation is weak. I can also impart the Treasured Cauldron lineage's refining and cultivation experience here. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Other than cultivation, I still have to study alchemy, artifacts and talisman arrays. I really don't have much time to guide the clan's disciples. If Master could give them some pointers, that would be the best. Wang Daoyin curled his lips. It's because he's greedy and doesn't want to leave. Yen country doesn't lack delicacies, and there's also Eighth Sister, the chef, he can't walk. Lei Yan's true thoughts were exposed and he said angrily, sooner or later, I'll be angered to death by you, my traitorous disciple. You don't reflect on your poor skills. He didn't know what was going on with this pair of master and disciple. Daoyin used to be quite obedient, but now he was bickering with his master all day long. Seeing the two of them enjoying themselves, Wang Daoyuan couldn't be bothered to care about these things. After chatting for a long time, Wang Daoyuan received a message from Wang Daojin that the rank 3 demonic beast he asked him to help find had arrived. Little Uncle and Zhao Liang's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Zifu realm. It was time to create a Zifu phenomenon for them. He had already tested the two before. Little Uncle had the highest chance of awakening the dragon, while Zhao had the highest chance of awakening the fire-winged quail. Little Uncle and Zhao Liang's cultivations have already reached the peak of the Zifu realm. It's time for me to create a Violet Palace phenomenon for them as well. The demonic beast that he had asked his 27th brother to help him find had already been found. It was time for him to make his move. Mingchen, accompany Grandmaster for a chat first. I'll make a trip back to Jade Spring Peak. Reverend Lei Yan waved his hand and said, there's no need. I also want to take a look at the secret technique of the Valley of Beasts. Let's return to Jade Spring Peak together. Wang Daoyuan summoned his flying boat and carried the two of them back to Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daojin was already waiting for them. Seeing the three of them arrive, Wang Daojin bowed. Now that he was already at the intermediate stage of the Golden Core realm, it seemed that he was quite suitable to cultivate the Guiyuan sword technique. Then he took out 2 interspatial rings. A drake and a fire-winged quail. both of which are of the 3rd level. Wang Daoyuan took the Cosmos Ring and checked it. The 2 demonic beasts were living well. It's not bad. I'll go back to my cave residence and take care of it. After saying that, he returned to his cave abode on the mountain and began to deal with the 2 demonic beasts. He had already done this several times, so it wasn't difficult at all. It only took him a little more than half a day to deal with the 2 demonic beasts at the same time. Then, after dealing with the souls and blood essence of the demonic beasts, he went to the formation hall on the mountainside on the east side of Jade Spring Peak. Most of the formation masters in the clan usually practiced the Tao of formations here. The formation hall was more leisurely. After all, the places where formations needed to be set up were limited. When the weapon refining hall didn't need to refine flying boats, they didn't have much to do. Therefore, many disciples of the clan who had just come of age came here to learn formations. As the 2nd formation master of the Wang clan, Wang Shouja also usually taught disciples here. Seeing Wang Daoyuan come here, he asked somewhat excitedly, "Have the demonic beasts arrived?" Wang Daoyuan nodded. "I've already taken care of things here. As long as you're ready, we can start now." Wang Shouja nodded. "I've already prepared." The 2 of them came to a quiet cave abode in the north of the formation hall. All the formations in the cave abode that could resist external disturbances were all activated. Wang Daoyuan took out some nectar of the 7-leaf ghost face flower and had Wang Shouja drink it. Then he sent the Hui dragon's soul into his sea of consciousness. The handover was very smooth. The rest was up to him. As long as there were no flaws in the soul and he didn't have any inner demons, the possibility of failure was very small. In order to avoid any accidents, Wang Daoyuan wasn't in a hurry to help Zhao Liang create the Purple Mansion anomaly. 3 days later, an extremely pure black spiritual power appeared above the cave mansion out of thin air. Then it turned into a black Hui dragon and entered the cave abode. Lei Yinzhenren also flew here. In the Divine Weapon Pavilion's records, it only mentioned that the Valley of Beasts had the means to create a Purple Mansion mystic realm. But for some reason it didn't spread. 50,000 years ago, the demonic beast clan was in chaos in the sky-chopping mountain range. The Valley of Beasts disappeared without a trace. I used to think that it was just a rumor. I didn't expect it to be true. The Valley of Beasts means to steal the fortune of heaven and earth and invade the mysteries of the sun and moon. The Divine Weapon Pavilion's foundation is still too weak. Half a day later, Wang Shouja walked out of the cave abode with a face full of joy. "I have the Purple Mansion anomaly. I can also sense the water element loss. I can form my core at any time." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "You should wait for a few days first. I'll create a Purple Mansion anomaly for Zhao Liang too. After I'm done here, the 2 of you can go through the tribulation together. You should consolidate your cultivation for the next few days." Wang Shouja nodded and returned to the cave abode to continue his seclusion. Wang Daoyuan and Lei Yinzhenren came to Zhao Liang's cave abode again. Zhao Liang had a nervous look on his face. After all, he had a serious inner demon. Back then he failed to establish his foundation. When he was establishing his Purple Mansion, he was suppressed by the demon-resisting pendant. It took him a lot of effort to succeed. Now the possibility of failure was still very high. Wang Daoyuan took out a piece of mystic ice chalcedony. This was something he extorted from the demons before he left Beiyuan. Originally he didn't have any use for it. However, it was still very effective to suppress his inner demon. This is the mystic ice chalcedony. Even if your inner demon hasn't been resolved, it shouldn't be a problem with this. Zhao Liang took the mystic ice chalcedony and nodded. "Then I'll have to trouble 7th brother-in-law." Wang Daoyuan controlled the fire-winged quail's soul and merged it into his sea of consciousness. Then he left the cave abode. With the inner demon's interference, the possibility of failure wasn't small. Lei Yinzhenren sighed. "This child is pitiful. He has been hunted since he was young. He has a weak personality. He has always kept things in his heart. It's easy for him to develop inner demons. He can only rely on himself. No one can help him." 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. There were no signs of the Zifu anomaly appearing. Wang Daoyuan and Lei Yinzhenren sat outside his cave abode, sipping tea and waiting quietly. Even on the 7th day there were still no signs of movement. The 2 were somewhat anxious. This thing involved the soul. Something went wrong, the damage would be significant. At this moment, a pure, fire-red spiritual force appeared out of thin air. It turned into a fire-winged quail at the entrance of Zhao Liang's cave abode. After circling a few times, it fell into his cave abode. The 2 heaved a sigh of relief. They were originally worried that something would happen to Zhao Liang. They didn't expect it to succeed. Half a day later, Zhao Liang walked out of the cave abode. His face was relaxed and there was joy between his brows. In the past he had been plagued by inner demons. There was a gloominess between his brows. He always gave others a feeling of misery. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Have you completely resolved your inner demons?" Zhao Liang smiled. "The underworld sect has already been destroyed. The people who hunted my family are also dead. The Zhao clan has already recovered. I also have many children and grandchildren. The disaster has already become a thing of the past. There is no need to worry about it." Lei Yin Jinren stroked his beard and laughed. "Good. You've resolved your inner demons. Your mental state has also improved greatly. I didn't expect that disciple Zhao Liang, who always had a sad face, would also have a time to laugh." Chapter 933. Zhao Liang cupped his hands towards Lei Yin. "I've made Master worry all these years. I should have let go of the past, but I've been thinking about it for many years. It's good that you can let go of it. Look forward. Now that you have the Purple Mansion phenomenon and your cultivation has reached the peak of the Purple Mansion realm, your core formation is just around the corner. Among your senior brothers, there are a few who are far more talented than you, but they haven't reached core formation yet. You have such good fortune, so you should cherish it." Wang Daoyuan took out a gold formation pill and a pine nut. "You've also comprehended the power of the earth-type laws, right? Adjust yourself and form your core together with little uncle. I know about the gold formation pill. Is this pine nut also a spiritual item that assists in core formation?" The jade needle white jade pine nuts have the effect of assisting in core formation. Your spiritual roots are rather weak, so only the gold formation pill isn't very stable. It's safer to add a pine nut. Wang Daoyuan sent a message to little uncle and gave him a gold formation pill and a pine nut. There are too many clansmen on Jade Spring Peak, and there are many properties. It's not convenient to form our core formation here. Let's go near the Heaven/Mountain Range's main vein. Wang Shouja smiled. Mingchen asked the clansmen to find a suitable mystic realm for tribulation transcendence. It's about 500 kilometers north of Mount Serene. Tribulation transcendence in the mystic realm won't be disturbed by the outside world. It's much safer. I really don't know about that. It's north of Mount Serene. It's not far from the Heaven/Mountain Range's main vein. There should be a 5th grade spirit vein in the mystic realm. It looks like our Wang clan has struck gold. There's no time to lose. Let's go there as soon as possible. The 4 of them boarded the flying boat and headed north. They soon arrived at the location of the Tribulation Transcendence mystic realm. The ground here was relatively flat, and there was a 5th grade elemental spirit vein underground. Although the scale wasn't large, it was a remnant of the Heaven/Mountain Range, so the spirit energy was very pure. The spirit energy was abundant and the soil was very thick. It nurtured a forest with a radius of about 200 kilometers. The grade of spirit wood in the forest wasn't low, and there were quite a few 4th grade spirit woods. 4th rank spirit wood could be used to build flying warships and puppets. Naturally, he would not let go of such a good place. There was also a mystic realm underground that could not be developed. The Wang family's spiritual wood hall had built a tree farm here to develop the forest. In the southern part of the forest, they cleared a piece of land and built a small city that was 1 square mile in size. This was also the residence of the clansmen who cut down the spiritual trees. There were 20 to 30 cultivator clansmen and more than 2,000 ordinary clansmen living inside. The person in charge here was an early-stage Zifu disciple, and the city even had a defensive formation of the 4th grade. In addition, this place was not far from South Serene Mountain. The Gray Rock usually patrolled nearby, so there was no problem in terms of safety. The flying boat landed in front of the city gate. Seeing Wang Daoyuan and the other 3, the gatekeepers immediately opened the city gate. A Zifu disciple walked out, bowing towards the group. Wang Shouja said, "Don't worry about us. Just do what you need to do." This Zifu disciple was on guard duty here. Naturally, he knew about the secret realm. He couldn't get involved in this matter, so he cupped his hands and excused himself. Wang Shouja brought the 3 of them to a small sealed stone house in the north of the city. The entrance to the secret territory is about 2,000 feet below here. You'll need to use the earth evasion technique to go down. As he spoke, he took out 3 low-grade 3rd-grade earth evasion talismans and gave them to Adept Thunderflame and Zhao Liang. Afterwards, the 4 of them began to fly down together. After flying for 2,000 feet, they arrived at an underground stone room that was about 10 square meters in size. On one wall of the stone room, there was a screen of light. The 4 of them entered the screen of light. This secret realm wasn't small, at least 400 kilometers in diameter. Unfortunately, the yin energy within the secret realm was too dense. Ordinary people and low-level clansmen were completely unable to adapt to this environment. Although the secret realm was relatively isolated from the outside world, it was still affected by the surrounding environment. Nearby, there was a north-south yin vein that created the Netherking River. This secret realm was affected as well. However, the spirit vein within the secret realm was quite large. A small mountain range that was less than 300 meters tall stretched out for more than 300 kilometers within the secret realm. Within the small mountain range, there was a low-grade 5th-grade non-elemental spirit vein, which was filled with spiritual energy. In addition, this secret realm was a natural secret realm, and was extremely stable. Even undergoing the Yuanying heavenly tribulation here wouldn't be a problem. Unfortunately, because the yin energy here was too dense, ordinary vegetation was unable to grow. Thus, the secret realm only had bare mountains and rocks, which made it seem especially desolate. In the southeast corner of the secret realm, there was a low-grade 5th-grade spirit spring. The water volume wasn't large, and it only gathered into a small lake that was 100 meters in diameter. However, the yin energy in the spring water was too dense. The yin energy in the entire secret realm should have surged out from this spring water. Venerable Lei Yen used his divine sense to examine it. This is a pretty good secret realm. Unfortunately, it was destroyed by this spring water. However, this spring water is the core of the secret realm. The entire secret realm relies on this spring water to connect to the outside world. It receives energy from the outside world to maintain the secret realm. If the spring water is destroyed, this secret realm will be destroyed as well. No matter how big a secret realm was, it couldn't be compared to the outside world. Relying on the internal energy, it was impossible to maintain the entire secret realm. Thus, it had to be connected to the outside world, forming a cycle with the yin energy of the outside world. This thing that connected to the outside world was the core of the secret realm. Man-made secret realms couldn't directly connect to the outside world, so they weren't stable enough. Either it was like Blood Shadow's secret realm, which required a large amount of space stones to maintain. Or, like the Green Willow Mystic Realm and the Five Elements Mystic Realm, there was something else that replaced the core of the Mystic Realm. The Green Willow Secret Realm relied on the Big Willow Tree to connect to the outside world. The Five Elements Secret Realm relied on the Spirit Vein to connect to the outside world. The Five Elements Heaven Suppression Seal was used to suppress the Spirit Vein, preventing it from becoming unstable and cutting off the connection. And the core of this secret realm was this Spirit Spring. By connecting to the Yin Vein and Water Vein outside, it maintained the entire secret realm. This secret realm should have been found in the Valley of Beasts secret realm distribution map. There were no signs of large-scale development. Instead, there were a few stone altars used for tribulation transcendence. In the Valley of Beasts, it should have been used as a tribulation transcendence secret realm. Wang Shoujia and Zhao Liang walked to two stone altars that were more than 50 kilometers apart to avoid disturbing each other. Wang Daoyuan and Venerable Lei Yen didn't disturb them. Instead, they went to the spring water. A large amount of yin energy was mixed into the spring water. Everything was pure black. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-peering secret technique and probed into the depths of the spring water. What a strong yin energy. My divine senses can only reach a depth of about 200 meters. Venerable Lei Yen smiled. This secret realm has been undisturbed for tens of thousands of years. There must be treasures in the depths of the spring water. You are a pentaspirit veins cultivator and have the Gui water death flame. This thing is very suitable for you. Why don't you go down and fish it up? Wang Daoyuan shook his head. The secret realm will only be more stable if treasures are nurtured in the spring water. At my level, I don't need a 5th-tier inferior grade spirit item anymore. Let it stay here. Keep the goodies within the family. In the future, the ones who can get this good stuff will still be my Wang family. However, this spring water is good stuff. We can't waste it here. After he finished speaking, he took out some seeds of the 7-leaf ghost face flower and scattered them around the spring water. He originally wanted to transplant some Yellow Springs willows, but he didn't have any. Planting living branches would risk exposing the secret realm. It was better to forget about it. His clansmen already had other materials to refine puppets. He also had enough Yellow Springs willows in the Spirit Pearl space to refine high-level puppets. He didn't have to plant them here. Wang Daoyuan had the Gui water death flame in his body and could adapt to this yin energy. However, Venerable Lei Yen was a lightning attribute cultivator. Lightning was of the extreme yang attribute. If he kept staying here, he would feel very uncomfortable. Wang Daoyuan drew out a wisp of scarlet yang true fire. The surrounding yin energy was mostly dispersed. A large amount of purple energy appeared around the scarlet yang true fire. Venerable Lei Yin praised. Such pure yin energy. It can actually produce purple energy with the scarlet yang true fire. If you can place a pure yang pearl in this secret realm, it can produce a lot of purple energy. Why don't you try it here? Chapter 934. In this kind of environment where the yin qi was extremely pure and dense, it was indeed very easy to create purple qi. Once the scarlet yang real fire shone, there would be a huge amount of pure yin qi. It was just that it was not easy to obtain a stable pure yang qi. Master, in such a dense yin qi place, the pure yang pearl might be greatly affected. Even if we put the scarlet feather crow here, he won't be able to hold on for long. Lei Yin Jinren laughed. You are really smart all your life but stupid this time. Although the yin qi here is dense and the sun can't shine into the secret realm. But this spiritual vein is non-elemental and can completely separate the fire attribute spiritual qi. 4 ordinary pure yang pearls, pure yang materials can be used to separate a small amount of pure yang qi from the fire attribute spiritual qi. How can the scarlet yang real fire not compare to those materials? Now, do you need to consume the fire attribute spiritual qi in your body to maintain this wisp of scarlet yang real fire in your hand? Wang Daoyuan looked at the scarlet yang real fire in his hand. It could burn here without consuming any spiritual qi in his body. Moreover, there was no intention of extinguishing it. Indeed, there is no need to inject spiritual qi. The scarlet yang real fire can also burn here normally. It's just that when I was refining the pure yang pearl, I needed to separate the pseudo-spiritual fire and then nurture it into spiritual fire before using this spiritual fire to refine the pure yang pearl. Separating the pseudo-spiritual fire will reduce the potential of the spiritual fire. And even if the pseudo-spiritual fire grows into a spiritual fire, its potential is very small. The spiritual fires in the spiritual pearl space were unable to grow fast because of their insufficient foundation. Now, the 5 spiritual veins in the space of the spiritual pearl had all grown to the peak of the 5th level. With the peak of the 5th level spiritual qi, these spiritual fires had not grown to the upper grade of the 5th level. Daoyuan, you are really begging for food with a golden bowl. To refine a pure yang pearl you actually need spiritual fire? There are also many secret realms in the divine weapon pavilion where the purple cloud wood is planted. There are at least 20 to 30 pure yang pearls. How can there be so many yin-yang spiritual fires to refine these treasures? This thing is to provide purple qi for the purple cloud wood, so it doesn't need to be of a high grade. If the space is not big, a 3rd level middle grade one is enough. We only used a few yin-yang materials to refine the pure yang pearl and moon pearl. You have a spiritual fire with yin and yang attributes. You only need to use a little rootless fire, and it will be much stronger than the materials we use. In my opinion, you don't even need to use pseudo-dragon balls. Find a few meteorites and wrap them with some crystals and other materials. The meteorite also had the ability to contain the 5 elements. In addition to some tool patterns that could maintain the burning of the spiritual fire, it could be refined into a pure yang pearl or a moon pearl. I reckon that your refining method was also obtained from the Valley of Beasts. There was no one to guide you on how to refine it. Crafting is also about being flexible. Doing things according to the inheritance is not wrong, but it may not be the best choice. Wang Daoyuan smiled awkwardly. This refining method is indeed from the Valley of Beasts. I didn't try it too much and just refined it according to the method recorded in the inheritance. According to what you said, it shouldn't be a problem to refine it. However, this pure yang pearl's grade was too low, and the area it could illuminate was also very small. Especially in this mystic realm, the yin qi was extremely dense. It also greatly affected the range that the pure yang bead could illuminate. A simple pure yang pearl like this could only illuminate a few dozen feet. In such a small area, only a few purple cloud trees could be planted. Lei Yin pondered for a moment. This is a problem, but I have a bold idea. If we can put it into practice, there will be many places suitable for growing purple cloud trees in the future. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was somewhat excited. Although the space within the spiritual pearl could produce purple cloud trees, they occupied a lot of spiritual fields. The Wang clan didn't lack purple cloud trees, but it wasn't worth it to occupy the spiritual fields within the spiritual pearl to plant a large amount of purple cloud trees. If Master really had a good method, he could plant purple cloud trees in more places. Then, every clansman in the Wang clan who could cultivate to the peak of foundation establishment could try to establish a violet palace. In the future, the number of violet palace realm cultivators in the Wang clan would increase by several times. Even if clansmen with poor talent didn't have a Violet Palace phenomenon, they could use a secret technique to add a Violet Palace phenomenon to them. In this way, the Wang clan would be able to push a cultivator with average talent, who would find it difficult to establish a Violet Palace, to the Golden Core stage. Of course, Yuanying was out of the question as the requirement for talent was too high. If a Golden Core cultivator with poor talent wanted to reach the peak of Golden Core stage, they would have to spend a lot of resources. A few of them weren't much, but the spiritual pearl wouldn't be able to support a large number of cultivators with poor talent to break through to Yuanying. Master, what ideas do you have? Quickly tell me. Seeing his anxious appearance, Lei Yen stroked his long beard. The spatial artifact you mentioned before that can allow spiritual beasts and spiritual plants to grow is already very close to a secret realm. It's just that in terms of stability and size, there's still a huge gap. But in the secret realm, there are very few places suitable for growing purple cloud trees. Otherwise, purple cloud trees wouldn't be so rare. With this special spatial artifact, the environment inside is completely up to you to decide. You can create an environment suitable for growing purple cloud trees. Then you can refine a pure yang pearl and a moonlight pearl and place them in the spatial artifact. With your skills, it shouldn't be a problem to refine such an artifact with an internal space of 100 square feet. If 100 square feet of space is turned into a spiritual field, it would be more than 100 acres. Planting more than 1,000 purple cloud trees is considered very sparse. There aren't many secret realms suitable for growing purple cloud trees in the Divine Weapon Pavilion. It's already very difficult to grow a few hundred purple cloud trees in one secret realm. Your spatial artifact can produce purple cloud trees equivalent to 2 or 3 secret realms. Secret realms are rare, but it shouldn't be difficult to refine a spatial artifact, right? If such a spatial artifact is placed in this secret realm, and the spiritual qi and yin qi in the secret realm are used to maintain the stability of the spatial artifact. How much yin qi is used in the artifact isn't it up to you. The yin qi is provided by the secret realm, and you can save a moonlight pearl. Of course, this method also has a huge flaw. Even if it's planted in a special spatial artifact, it will take more than 2,000 years to grow a purple cloud tree heart. For a spatial artifact to exist stably for thousands of years, it needs to be at least a 4th-tier high grade. In addition, it needs to maintain the growth of spiritual plants. At least a 5th-tier spatial artifact is needed. The cost is still too high, and at least for more than 2,000 years, there will only be input and no output. Wang Daoyuan's eyes lit up. Master's idea was simply tailor-made for him. For artifacts like the life ring, even if it was a 5th-tier one, it wasn't difficult to refine. The simplified version of the pure Yang Pearl and Moonlight Pearl proposed by Master only needed the Scarlet Yang True Fire and the Rootless Fire of the Gui Water Death Flame to refine in large quantities. As long as there was spiritual qi, the Rootless Fire was endless. The flow of time in the Spirit Pearl space was already more than 90 times that of the outside world. If the life ring was placed in the Spirit Pearl space with the pure Yang Pearl and Moonlight Pearl, it would be able to harvest a large amount of purple cloud tree hearts in more than 20 years. In the future, he could also take out a large amount of purple cloud tree to recruit wandering cultivators. In addition to the artificial Purple Mansion Secret Realm secret technique, he could cultivate a large number of golden core cultivators. The many resources and secret techniques in his hands were connected by Master's idea, forming an assembly line to cultivate a large number of golden core cultivators. When golden core cultivators became expendable, not to mention the forces in Beiyuan, it wouldn't be difficult for him to dominate the Sea of 7 Stars. Moreover, this method could not only be used to cultivate the purple cloud tree, but also other spiritual plants. It wasn't very reliable to cultivate high-grade spiritual plants, but it was still easy to cultivate true essence fruits, purple cloud dragon ginseng and other spiritual plants. In the future, extremely important resources like the Foundation Establishment Pill and Purple Cloud Pill would be inexhaustible. With this method, he would have some confidence in the future War of Providence. Chapter 935. The Spirit Pearl could store a large number of spatial artifacts. The only limitation was whether there was enough spirit qi in the space. The Thunder Flame Perfected Cultivator was worried about the stability of the space. Back in the Qixing Sea Xiuxing community, he went out to sea with Li Chen to catch star-pattern sea cucumbers. He put 3 5th-grade star-pattern sea cucumbers and many 4th-grade star-pattern sea cucumbers into the life ring. Although the star-pattern sea cucumbers were weak, they were still 5th-grade demon beasts. If even they couldn't break the life ring, planting some spiritual plants would be even less of a problem. Master, you're right. I'm really begging with a golden bowl. I have so many good things but I didn't make full use of them. After your reminder, I realized how many good things I have. The war of providence will come soon. I should be able to make it in 2,000 years. If I prepare now, I will be able to make some difference. In the distance, his uncle and Zhao Liang had already started to absorb spirit qi. They still needed half a year to transcend the tribulation. With their talent, their core formation heavenly tribulation would definitely be weak. They had enough Dharma artifacts to resist the heavenly tribulation, so there wouldn't be any accidents. Unless they went berserk, they wouldn't need any help at all. Wang Daoyuan and the Thunder Flame Perfected Cultivator had enough time to try to refine Dharma artifacts similar to the Life Ring. He took out a processed gourd from the Spirit Pearl space. The gourd was more than a foot tall and completely green. It was the Xinyuan gourd. Back when he was a Foundation Establishment cultivator, he had obtained the Xinyuan gourd seed from the White Fox tribe. It had been planted in the Spirit Pearl space for more than 300 years and dozens of generations. Originally, the Xinyuan gourd could only grow to the 3rd grade. Under the nourishment of the rich spirit qi in the Spirit Pearl space, a Xinyuan gourd finally broke through to the 4th grade not long ago. Wang Daoyuan also planted the gourds around different spiritual fires to see if he could cultivate gourds with different attributes. However, only the gourd vine near the life spiritual fire grew well and had mutated attributes. The gourds near the other 4 spiritual fires either died or barely survived with their heads drooping. These barely surviving gourd vines basically didn't grow gourds. The gourd he took out was a variant of the Xinyuan gourd. Its attribute had changed from non-elemental to wood elemental, and it also had a strong vitality. Adept Thunderflame carefully inspected the gourd. This gourd seems to be a mystic origin gourd, but I've never heard of a mystic origin gourd being able to grow to the 4th stage. Moreover, the life force in your gourd is extremely exuberant. The profound essence gourd doesn't have this ability. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "This is indeed the profound essence gourd. However, I planted it in my life ring and nurtured it with my life spirit fire. I didn't expect this gourd to break through the limit of its grade and mutate into a wood attribute one." Taoist Thunderflame nodded. It's not strange for spirit plants to mutate. Some low-level spirit plants grow in places with extremely high spirit qi density. After a few generations, there was a possibility that it could be upgraded. It was extremely rare for an entire attribute to change. I can see that your life spiritual fire is very effective on spirit plants. The life force within this gourd is extremely dense. If it can be refined into a spatial Dharma artifact like a life ring and planted with purple cloud wood, the effects should be even better. Refining a life ring or similar Dharma artifact requires a rather high material requirement. It requires materials like dark void stone or hollow willow. I don't have many dark void stones on hand, so I'll use this gourd for practice for now. The space within this gourd is naturally formed. If it's refined into a spatial Dharma artifact, the space within will be even more stable. With my abilities, refining a level 4 mid-grade Dharma artifact with low-grade level 4 materials isn't a problem. A level 4 artifact should be enough to plant a level 3 purple cloud wood. It was Wang Daoyuan's first time refining a true high-level spatial Dharma artifact. Although he'd used this gourd to refine spatial Dharma artifacts in the past, those were all at a half-baked level. It could be said that it was an enhanced version of a storage bag. The gourd didn't have any space inside it. Now that he wanted to refine a life ring, he couldn't do it like before. This wasn't difficult. He just needed to add a step of intersecting space. After completely separating the space within the gourd from the outside world, there wasn't much difference in the remaining space. It was all about twisting this small space into a large space and then stabilizing it. The difference was that a spatial Dharma artifact wouldn't have a weight limit when storing things. Moreover, it was less affected by the outside world and was more stable. There was another disadvantage. Once the gourd was destroyed, the things inside would fall into the endless void. If he wanted to cut space with his bare hands, that was something only a Mahayana cultivator could do. What Wang Daoyuan could do was to inscribe a tool pattern on the gourd and use the power of the tool pattern to separate the space within the gourd. There wasn't anything special about the rest. Dharma artifacts like the life ring were all developed from the foundation of the spirit beast pouch. The tool pattern was also very similar but more complicated. Although perfected Lei Yin was only a level 5 low-grade weapon refiner, he had more experience in refining weapons. During the process of refining this gourd, he still had to rely on his guidance. Apart from maintaining the space within the gourd, it also had to be able to contain living things and maintain stability for a long time. The tool pattern was still very complicated. The master and disciple worked together, but it still took more than a month to refine the entire gourd. At this moment, the gourd was completely jasper in color. In order to increase the strength of the gourd, the essence of some stronger wood attribute refining materials was smelted into it. The space within the gourd was not small, at least 100 feet square. Moreover, the space inside was not pitch black like an ordinary universe ring. Instead, it was like a mystic realm, like a cloudy sky outside. Wang Daoyuan took out a few soul-chasing bees and placed them into the space within the gourd. These soul-chasing bees stayed in the space for half a day and did not show any signs of discomfort. Wang Daoyuan and perfected Lei Yan were delighted. This gourd could at least be used as a spirit beast pouch. Using their divine consciousness, they could see that the gourd was constantly absorbing the surrounding spirit qi and yin qi. In the space within the gourd, spirit qi and yin qi began to appear. Only with spirit qi in the space could spirit beasts and spirit plants be raised. Wang Daoyuan took a large amount of soil and stones from the ground of the mystic realm and placed them into the gourd. Only with soil could he open up a spirit field. Then he used the scarlet yang true fire to temper the soil. There was too much yin qi in the soil and spirit plants could not grow. Then, under the guidance of Taoist Lei Yan, he used a small piece of meteorite, some crystal refining materials, and the rootless flame of the crimson sun true fire to refine a third-grade upper-grade pure yang bead. This pure yang bead was rather special. In order to maintain the burning of the rootless fire, he borrowed many patterns from the meteorite fire control gourd. He placed the pure yang bead into the space within the gourd. The bead absorbed the spirit qi absorbed by the gourd and started to emit a scarlet gold light. The surrounding yin qi met with this light and gave birth to strands of purple qi. As time passed, the purple qi became denser and denser. Wang Daoyuan's divine consciousness entered the gourd and controlled the spirit qi to cast a sweet rain spell. The soil was nourished by the sweet rain spell and was full of vitality. Now the spirit qi in the soil was still very little and could not directly plant the purple cloud wood. In the future, when he planted the purple cloud wood, he would need to cast the sweet rain spell frequently to maintain the spirit field. For others this was very troublesome, but Wang Daoyuan did not care. It was not a problem no matter how troublesome it was to forge a few spirit plant farmer puppets and place them inside. First he sprinkled some rank 1 spirit grains in the gourd. After half a month, more than 80% of the spirit grains had sprouted. At this step, it was certain that the spatial artifact had been successfully forged. Perfected Lei Yan smiled and said, "With this, Beiyuan Xiuxin will welcome a great change in the future. You're the one who refined this gourd. Give it a name." This gourd is a type of fruit, flower, and flower. It is different from the first wood of the towering tree. It is second wood and has a universe hidden inside. Let's call it second wood Chengkuan gourd. Chapter 936. Lei Yan sighed. With this artifact, the amount of spiritual herbs that can be grown in Beiyuan Xiuxin will increase by a lot. As long as there's enough spiritual energy, we can grow more spiritual herbs and feed more cultivators. As a blacksmith, to be able to participate in the creation of such a profound artifact in Beiyuan, it's not a waste of my life. Wang Daoyuan and Lei Yan's names would go down in history, and it wouldn't be a problem for future blacksmiths to call them grandmasters. Wang Daoyuan took out another gourd. It was an upper-grade Tier 3 gourd, and it was just an ordinary Shenyuan gourd. He only had a vines that could produce Tier 4 second-wood gourds. There were only a few that could reach Tier 3 upper-grade. Most of them were Tier 3 upper-grade Shenyuan gourds. The gourd from before had 10 gourd seeds that were planted beside the life spiritual fire. After a few generations, the gourd would probably grow into a new species. In order to not arouse suspicion, he could only continue with the Tier 3 upper-grade Shenyuan gourd. After Wang Daoyuan took out the gourd, Lei Yan smiled, "You have a lot of gourds. My hands are itching to see you refine. Let me practice with this gourd." Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections and handed the gourd to Lei Yan. "My blacksmithing skills mostly relied on myself. In order to ensure success, I followed the blacksmithing legacy. My methods were too cautious and I used too many materials. It's a good opportunity to see masters' techniques." This was the difference between having a master and not. Whether it was alchemy, artifact, talisman arrays, or cultivation techniques, without guidance one would still be lacking. Those with insufficient comprehension wouldn't be able to refine it. Lei Yan dealt with the gourd briefly and began to inscribe spatial cutting patterns. It was similar to what Wang Daoyuan did before, but it was more natural. 10 days later, the Tier 3 upper-grade Shenyuan gourd was refined into a Tier 4 mid-grade artifact by Lei Yan. Its function was similar to Wang Daoyuan's Yi Would Chengkuan gourd, which could also absorb spiritual and yin energy. However, without the life force of the Yi Would Chengkuan gourd, it had no effect on the growth of spirit plants. Wang Daoyuan was dumbstruck. High-grade Tier 3 materials can actually refine a mid-grade Tier 4 magic artifact? Taoist Thunderflame laughed. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. Although I'm limited by my cultivation and can't compare to you in terms of refining tools, I haven't lived these 1,000 years in vain. When I was over 300 years old, my armament refining level had already reached the 4th level upper grade. After that, because Beiyuan Xiuxin didn't have any 5th tier refining materials, his refining level had been stuck at the peak of the 4th tier, unable to make any progress. There was no hope for me to improve my refining skills. Later on, my cultivation was stuck at the late Jindan stage. I could only put my mind on other aspects. Using inferior materials to refine better magic tools is also one of my goals. Generally speaking, a weapon refiner with a certain level of skill would be able to use materials to refine a magic tool of a higher grade. I've been immersed in this Tao for hundreds of years, and I'm already capable of using materials to refine magic tools that are 2 grades higher. If the grade is lower, I can use 2nd grade Tier 2 refining materials to refine a 3rd grade magic artifact. I originally wanted to continue researching in this area, but Beiyuan Xiuxin already has Tier 5 spirit energy. Some of the peak Tier 4 refining materials that the Divine Weapon Pavilion stored in the early years have already recovered to the 5th level lower grade. I also took the opportunity to raise my refining level to the 5th level. Now that the Bloodfire Hibiscus has also recovered to the 5th level lower grade, there are enough refining materials. I also didn't continue researching the method of refining high-grade magic artifacts with such low-grade materials. Although this method saves materials, it wastes too much time. You still have a lot of room for improvement, so there's no need to spend too much effort in this area. After that, Taoist Thunderflame refined another pure Yang Pearl and placed it into the newly refined Chengkuan gourd. Strands of purple qi once again appeared in the space within the gourd. Once again he used the sweet rain technique to cultivate a spirit field in the gourd and sowed the seeds of the spirit grains. After half a month, the spirit grains also germinated and grew. In the next few months, the master and disciple did not refine any new living magic artifacts. After all, there was no precedent for the combination of the pure Yang Pearl and the living magic artifact. There might be many problems. Whether this combination was stable still needed to be carefully observed. Wang Daoyuan took the time to refine 2 sets of farming puppets. One set of farming puppets was used to sow seeds, harvest, and cast the sweet rain technique. In the living magic artifact, the spirit plants would not come into contact with pests and diseases, so there was no need to get rid of them. The spirit grains could self-pollinate. Without the help of insects like bees, they could still produce seeds normally. If other spirit plants were planted, it would be best to raise a nest of spirit bees. Wang Daoyuan thought of another use of the living magic artifact, and that was to raise bees. With more than 100 acres of space, it would not be a problem to raise thousands of spirit bees. With this, the number of spirit bees that the clan could raise would also increase greatly, and a large amount of low-grade honey could be produced. If the spirit honey was distributed to the clan members who were pregnant, the chances of giving birth to children with spirit roots would also be higher. The master and disciple spent almost half a year refining the magic artifact and discussing ways to improve it. Wang Shouja and Zhao Liang were also at the critical juncture of core formation. The 2 of them had already eaten the gold formation pills and pine nuts. When the half a year was up, a water blue ball with a diameter of about 3 inches appeared above Wang Shouja. He was also a cultivator with 3 spirit roots, but his main spirit root was relatively low, only a little more than 5 inches. He could be considered a true mid-level talent. As long as such a cultivator cultivated a good cultivation technique, there was still hope for him to form his core. Unfortunately, when he first established his purple palace, there was no sign of it, so it was delayed for so many years. On the other hand, Zhao Liang was having a bit of trouble. He was a cultivator with 4 spirit roots, and his spirit chi was even more heterogeneous. If he could not make up for another spirit root and become a cultivator with 5 spirit roots, then his talent with 4 spirit roots would be the worst. The tribulation cloud on Wang Shouja's side was about to take shape. Only then did a golden core with a diameter of about 2 inches appear above his head. Wang Shouja's tribulation cloud was about 15 kilometers in diameter, and the heavenly tribulation quickly descended. The magic artifact had already been prepared, so the heavenly tribulation did not have any effect. The tribulation cloud on Zhao Liang's side was even smaller, only about 20 kilometers in diameter. More than 2 hours later, both of their heavenly tribulations ended. Both of them were completely unharmed, and the gifts of heaven and earth also descended. Wang Daoyuan handed over the 2 Qingkuan gourds. As Yuanian cultivators, the gifts of heaven and earth from golden core cultivators were almost useless to them. However, the Qingkuan gourd was a 4th-grade magic artifact. Absorbing the gifts of heaven and earth from the golden core heavenly tribulation was still very beneficial. The gifts of heaven and earth lasted for only 15 minutes, but the gourd still benefited a lot. The grade of the spiritual field in their inner space increased slightly. Zhao Liang was about the same age as Wang Daoyuan. He was already close to 400 years old, and already had obvious signs of aging. Now that he had formed his core, his lifespan had increased to 1,000 years. His age was equivalent to that of an ordinary person in their 40s, and his appearance had also returned to that of a middle-aged man. Wang Shouja was a few decades younger than him. He now looked to be in his early 30s. Zhao Liang walked over and cupped his hands towards Master Lei Yan. "Master, I finally succeeded in forming my core." Master Lei Yan's face was filled with gratification. "Good. Our treasured cauldron lineage has few people, and now we have another golden core cultivator. You were raised by me, so I don't have to worry about you dying before you." Wang Shouja looked at the 2 gourds and asked, "Daoyuan, what's up with these 2 gourds? They actually have spiritual fields and purple aura inside. If they're used to grow purple cloud wood, the clan won't lack it anymore." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "While you and Zhao Liang were preparing to form your core, Master and I researched this set of magic artifacts that can be used to grow purple cloud wood. It's still not mature yet, but after it stabilizes, we can refine it in large quantities. Not only can it grow purple cloud wood, but it can also grow other spiritual plants. We can even raise spiritual bees inside. In the future, the clan's higher-ups will each have a personal medicinal garden." Chapter 937. Wang Shouja and Zhao Liang were both astonished. As long as the cost of refining the ring wasn't too high, they would be able to make it. With more than 100 acres of spirit fields and puppets to take care of them, they could earn more than 10,000 spirit stones a year even if they planted Tier 1 spirit grains. As cultivators who didn't carry a storage bag or a cosmos ring, who wouldn't be interested in something that could store things and earn spirit stones? Of course, for those without puppets, the value of this item wasn't that high, and they still had to spend time to take care of the spirit fields. But the Wang clan had the inheritance of puppets, and with the spirit gathering pearl, they didn't need to spend any spirit stones to use the puppets. Zhao Liang asked, "What's the cost of this item?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "The cost isn't high, but it isn't low either. The raw materials of these 2 gourds are high-grade Tier 3 and low-grade Tier 4. In order to increase the strength of the gourd, they used the smelting method to add the essence of some high-strength materials. If the puppets, moon essence pearl and pure yang pearl are added, it would take at least a Tier 4 artificer a month. The value of the entire Qingkuan gourd shouldn't be less than 2 million spirit stones. If you don't use gourds, you can use materials with spatial laws like space stones. In terms of materials, it won't be much better than a cosmos ring of the same grade." Zhao Liang nodded. "Even if you open up spirit fields and plant spirit grains, you can earn more than 10,000 spirit stones a year, and you can earn back the cost in 200 years. Even if you don't maintain this Tier 4 spatial artifact, it won't be a problem to use it for a few thousand years. Refining a spatial artifact like this is definitely profitable." Wang Daoyuan answered, "The most important function of this item is to plant purple cloud wood. If you plant ordinary spirit plants, you can even omit the moon essence pearl and pure yang pearl. The space inside these 2 gourds is 300 square meters, and you can open up more than 100 acres of spirit fields and plant more than 1,000 purple cloud wood. With the constant illumination of the moon essence pearl and pure yang pearl, it will only take about 2,500 years for the purple cloudwood core to grow. 1 purple cloudwood core is 700,000 spirit stones, and 3 purple cloudwood cores can earn back the cost. 1 batch of purple cloudwood cores is worth more than 700 million spirit stones. With proper maintenance, this spatial artifact can last for 10,000 years. As long as it is maintained. In that case, each of these spatial treasures would have a profit of over 2 billion spirit stones." When Wang Shouja heard that the profits were so high, his eyes became abnormally bright and flashed with a strange light. "Then we'll have to refine more. It doesn't matter if it's a bit harder now. This is good stuff to increase our foundation. If we have a few dozen of these spatial treasures, our Wang family's wealth will probably surpass the 4 top forces." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "How can it be that easy? This spatial treasure can't compare to a mystic realm. In order to maintain stability, it was necessary to inject spiritual energy. If he stayed in a place with dense spiritual qi, it would not be a problem. If the spirit energy in the outside world was thin, the spirit plants in the space would not be able to survive stably. The more spatial treasures one had, the more spiritual energy one could absorb. It would be best to set up a spirit gathering array and place it in a place with dense spirit qi. Let's discuss this matter later. For now, we should return to Jade Spring Peak. These two gourds need to be observed for a few more years to determine if they are useful or not." The four of them left the secret realm and returned to Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan had mastered the complete doppelganger soul nurturing technique. Even if he stayed in the mystic realm, he could still communicate with his doppelganger outside. He knew everything about the outside world, so he was not worried about any problems. After arriving at Jade Spring Peak, Wang Daoyuan and Master Lei Yin each took a Qingkuan gourd and carried it with them. After discovering the flaws, they would make improvements. Master Lei Yin also fulfilled his promise and taught the Wang family's disciples how to refine artifacts in the Wang family's artifact refining hall. Wang Daoyuan went to the imperial study in Qingli City's imperial palace. Wang Mingqian stood up and bowed. "Greetings, father. You've stayed in the mystic realm for half a year. I'm sure little granduncle and eighth uncle have already formed their gold cores." Wang Daoyuan took out the Yi Wood Qingkuan gourd. "The two of them have indeed formed their gold cores. When we were guarding them, your grandmaster and I also refined a few magic tools. Take a look." Wang Mingqian took the gourd and carefully examined it. Then, his face revealed a look of ecstasy. A magic tool can open up more than 100 acres of spirit fields. It can also be used with moon pearls and pure yang pearls. This value is too high. The industries and spirit veins controlled by the Wang family have yet to be developed. There is no need to grow ordinary spirit plants. However, the planting of purple cloud wood has extremely strict environmental requirements. There are very few suitable places. If this spatial magic tool can be used to plant purple cloud wood, its value will be too high. Seeing that Wang Mingqian discovered the value of the Yi Wood Qingkuan gourd so quickly, Wang Daoyuan was very gratified. "This gourd is the main purpose of my visit. This item is extremely valuable. Currently, only your grandmaster and I know how to refine it. This type of spatial magic tool has high requirements for materials. The family doesn't have any dark space stone mines now, so we need to purchase such materials on a large scale. As long as it's a spatial spiritual material of 3rd level and above, be it a gourd or a dark space stone, they cannot be let go. There are also meteorites, star cores, and other materials that are needed to refine moon pearls and pure yang pearls. However, we still need to keep it a secret. Although the Yen Kingdom is thriving and has no strong enemies on the surface, there are many people who are unconvinced in the dark. If they know that the Yen Kingdom needs these things, there will be people who will trip us up. You are the president of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. You can pay attention to purchasing these things through the channels of the Chamber of Commerce. You don't need to be too deliberate. After purchasing them, just give them to me." Wang Mingqian naturally knew the importance of this matter. He said solemnly, "Father, don't worry. I know the importance of this matter and will handle it carefully." Wang Daoyuan nodded. "That's good. There is one more thing. You were able to find the secret realm of tribulation in the north of Mount Serene because of the ancient books in the Valley of Beasts. Is there a secret realm in the Valley of Beasts where purple cloudwood was planted in the Yen Kingdom? If there is, I will go and check it out. In the future, this kind of magic tool needs to be used to plant purple cloudwood in large quantities. We need to create an environment suitable for purple cloudwood to survive. If there is a secret realm in the Valley of Beasts left behind, I will have a reference." He wanted to find a secret realm where purple cloudwood was planted mainly to fool others. In the future, with the help of the Yi Wood Qingkuan gourd, he could plant a large number of purple cloudwood in the space of the spiritual pearl. If there was no suitable source, the secret of the spirit pearl space would be exposed. The Valley of Beasts had been destroyed for more than 50,000 years. The purple cloudwood in these secret realms had been accumulated for 50,000 years. There was definitely a lot of it. It would make sense if he took out a large amount of purple cloudwood in the future. Wang Mingqian said without hesitation, "I have already checked before. I know all the secret realms in the Yen Kingdom by heart. There are 3 secret realms where purple cloudwood is planted. The closest one to here is in the belly of Qingyun Peak." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was a little shocked. It was really dark under the lamp. Qingyun Peak was a few hundred miles northeast of Qingli City. Back then, this peak was taken away by the Liang family as the main spiritual mountain. Later, Liang gave in and was willing to return the property of the Wang family. Only then did Qingyun Peak return to the Wang family. The Wang family and the Liang family each occupied this peak for hundreds of years, but they did not find any clues. However, this was not strange. Any secret realm could be born near any spirit vein of a certain scale. The places where these secret realms were born and the entrances were uncertain. Many secret realms were born in the belly of mountains or deep underground. Some secret realms even had their entrances hidden in lava. The secret realms that were discovered now mostly had more obvious entrances. Those secret realms with more concealed entrances were hard to find even for mighty figures. The factions that controlled the secret realms would not easily destroy the disguise near the entrance of the secret realm. The many secret realms in the Valley of Beasts were the result of dozens of generations of hard work. This secret realm on Qingyun Peak saved a lot of trouble. There was no need to open up another property to deceive others. It was only a few hundred miles away from Qingli City, and its safety was guaranteed. Chapter 938. Although Blue Cloud Peak spirit meridians were far inferior to Jade Spring Peaks, the mountain was still very big. It was really not easy to find it if he went in without knowing the exact location. Wang Daoyuan asked Wang Mingchen for the exact location before concealing himself and leaving Clear Glass City, flying towards the northeast. A distance of several hundred kilometers was nothing to a nascent soul cultivator. In less than 100 seconds he arrived at Blue Cloud Peak. The last time he came to Blue Cloud Peak, the Liang family had just handed over the properties that they had embezzled. After the Liang family retreated, he came to Blue Cloud Peak and even set up the Greenwood illusory cloud array on the mountain. Now that more than 300 years had passed, the array on Blue Cloud Peak had long been replaced. The spirit meridians had also improved greatly and were now superior grade rank 3 spirit meridians. Blue Cloud Peak was originally surrounded by clouds and mist. Now that the spirit meridians had improved, the clouds and mist were even thicker. Half of the mountain was shrouded in clouds and mist. According to Wang Mingchen, the entrance to this mystic realm was at the center of Blue Cloud Peak. There was a stone room outside the entrance that was surrounded by an array formation. Even soul formation cultivators could not use their divine senses to detect the spatial fluctuations at the entrance. Wang Daoyuan directly used the sand flying technique on the top of the mountain and escaped into the mountain. Ever since he improved his cultivation technique at the Heavenly Mystery Tower, he could convert spirit power into qi and blood. His physique had become stronger and stronger. Especially in these years, his cultivation could no longer improve, but the 5 spirit power seeds were still absorbing spirit power. Wang Daoyuan converted all the excess spirit power into qi and blood power. With his current physical strength, he had already surpassed most demon beasts of the same level. Back then, when he was in the mid-stage of Yuanying, he killed the Demon King with the Phoenix bloodline. Now that he was fighting with him, he could not be at a disadvantage just by using his physical strength. Using the Earth Escape technique, he could escape to a depth of 3,000 feet and his physical body could completely withstand it. After escaping for more than 10,000 feet from the top of the mountain, he found traces of the array formation. This array formation was once a superior grade rank 5 array formation. Without the nourishment of spirit power for tens of thousands of years, it was almost useless. However, this array formation should not be broken easily. It was not a good thing to expose the location of the Mystic Realm's entrance. Wang Mingchen also told him how to enter the array formation. After all, he was a rank 5 array formation master. If one knew the way to enter the array, they would be able to enter without breaking the array. 10 breaths later, he passed through the formation and entered the stone room. This array was truly extraordinary. A dignified rank 5 array could operate normally with only a rank 3 spirit vein. The stone room was 300 feet square, and on one of the walls was a circular light screen with a diameter of 10 feet. There weren't any furnishings in the stone room. There were only a few corpses of demonic beasts. When Wang Daoyuan came in, he stirred up the air currents in the area, turning the bones into ashes. It could be seen that these bones were quite old. There were many corpses of demonic beasts outside, so there might be something inside as well. However, the concentration of spiritual qi in a mystic realm was affected by the outside world. The concentration of spirit qi in Blue Cloud Peak's spirit meridian was only at superior level 3. In the past 10,000 years, it was only at inferior level 3. Even if there were still demonic beasts inside, they were no match for him at all. To be safe, he released a few soul-chasing bees to scout ahead. Soon, the soul-chasing wasp returned to the stone room. There were no array formations or demonic beasts inside. Wang Daoyuan then entered the mystic realm. This mystic realm wasn't big. The internal space was circular, and its diameter was only slightly more than 10 miles. The smaller the mystic realm where the purple cloud wood was planted, the better. This way the purple qi would be more concentrated and wouldn't be scattered everywhere. There was a moon pearl and a pure yang pearl hanging in the sky. After tens of thousands of years, the two pearls could still emit light as usual. There seemed to be an array formation protecting the two pearls. Wang Daoyuan used his divine perception to check and found that the blacksmithing inheritance in the Valley of Beasts was true. When they refined the pure yang pearl and moon pearl, the raw materials were really fake dragon pearls. Although it wasn't spirit fire, it was still a high-grade yin and yang attribute material. The Valley of Beasts was really rich. In the center of the mystic realm, there was a large forest of purple cloud wood. After a rough count, there were about 600 to 700 purple cloud wood. In addition, there were many dead trees. The purple cloud wood couldn't survive forever. After tens of thousands of years, it was normal for many purple cloud wood to wither and die. The heart of the purple cloud wood contained a large amount of purple qi. The material had already undergone a qualitative change. It wouldn't decay even after tens of thousands of years. Wang Daoyuan took out his doppelganger Liao Yang from the soul pearl and asked him to search for the purple cloud wood heart in the forest. Since the tree was already dead, there was no need to keep the purple cloud wood heart. In the forest there were some scattered beast bones. Wang Daoyuan used his divine perception to check the entire mystic realm. He found that there were many cave residences on the stone walls at the edge of the mystic realm. Some of the cave residences still had array formations. He came to the door of the largest cave residence. The defensive array formation had already been destroyed. There were many marks left behind by demonic beasts on the walls in front of the cave residence. Walking into the cave residence, there were many remains of demonic beasts on the ground. The cave residence was very ordinary. It was a stone room of about 100 square feet. There was a stone couch and a stone table. There was a skeleton sitting cross-legged on the stone couch. This skeleton wasn't complete. It was missing its left arm and many of its ribs were broken. The Dharma artifact robe on its body was also damaged in many places. There was a beast skin book and a yin and yang ring on the stone table. Wang Daoyuan kept them in the soul pearl and handed them to his doppelganger to check. Chen Zhaoyi's doppelganger flipped open the beast skin book and checked the contents. The contents of the beast skin book were basically intact. The person who wrote the book was called Wan Yunshan. His position was the guardian of the Qingyun mystic realm of the 10,000 dragon branch in the Valley of Beasts. He was in charge of guarding this mystic realm that produced the purple cloud wood heart. According to the book, about 50,000 years ago, the nearby industries were besieged by demonic beasts. More than 10 golden core realm cultivators who were cultivating in the Qingyun mystic realm went out to help. Only one golden core realm cultivator and more than 10 Zifu realm cultivators were left behind. Later on they lost contact with the 10,000 dragon branch. The people who were sent out to investigate the situation never returned. They didn't dare to go out easily. They could only stay in this mystic realm and wait for the 10,000 dragon branch to send someone to contact them. As disciples of the Valley of Beasts, it was natural for them to rear spirit beasts. The cultivators who guarded the Qingyun mystic realm naturally reared some spirit beasts. Later on, for some reason, the spirit beasts suddenly went berserk and attacked the cultivators who stayed behind. Wan Yunshan was also severely injured by his own spirit beasts. Eventually, he made use of the array formation in the mystic realm to defeat those spirit beasts. Most of the spirit beasts were killed on the spot while a few escaped from the mystic realm. He died of his injuries and soon passed away in his cave abode. This beast skin book was also left behind by him before he died. He hoped that in the future the people of the Valley of Beasts would come and find out about the situation here. It seemed like the bones of the demonic beasts outside the entrance of the mystic realm should be the demonic beasts that escaped. They did not know about array formations and could escape from the mystic realm. However, they could not break the array formation and escape out of the Qingyun Peak. In the end, they could only exhaust their lifespan in that small stone chamber. No matter what, this person died for his duty. Wang Daoyuan did not disturb him anymore. He would pass this beast skin book to Wang Mingchen later on. It could be considered as fulfilling his dying wish. Within the Qiankuan ring were some of Wan Yunshan's personal belongings and more than 10 pieces of purple cloud wood heart. They should have been harvested from the mystic realm. However, there were not enough of them to hand over and he kept them for the time being. After leaving Wan Yunshan's cave abode, Liao Yang's clone searched the entire mystic realm. There were quite a number of purple cloudwood hearts accumulated over the past tens of thousands of years. There was a piece of purple cloudwood heart on any random withered tree. He found a total of more than 500 pieces. Most of the purple cloudwood that were still alive had grown purple cloudwood hearts. If he cut down all of them, it should not be a problem to harvest more than 1,000 pieces of purple cloudwood hearts. Of course, there was no need to rush to harvest now. These books could continue to absorb the purple chi and the purple cloudwood hearts would grow as well. The purple cloudwood hearts were also differentiated by size and quality. The higher quality purple cloudwood hearts were larger and could be used by many cultivators to open up their purple palaces. After storing all the purple cloudwood hearts into the space of the spirit pearl, he left this place and returned to Qingli City. Chapter 939. Arriving at Wang Mingqian's imperial study room, he took out the beast skin book that he had obtained in the Qingyun Mystery Land. This was left behind by the guardian of the Qingyun mystic realm under the command of the 10,000 Dragons branch hall in the Valley of Beasts. Wang Mingqian took the beast skin book and examined it carefully. After a long time he sighed, "I didn't expect that the demonic beast riot that year would even affect such an extremely secretive secret realm. It seems that the cultivators stationed in the other secret realms in the Valley of Beasts are also in danger." Wang Daoyuan took out a storage bag and said, "This is the purple cloudwood core that I obtained in the Qingyun mystic realm. After tens of thousands of years, many purple cloudwood cores have withered and died, leaving behind many purple cloudwood cores. I picked up more than 500 pieces. There are still hundreds of living purple cloud trees in the Qingyun mystic realm. Most of them still have the purple cloud tree heart. It's useless for me to keep these things anyway. You can deal with them." This time even Wang Mingqian was a little surprised. How could there be so many purple cloudwood cores in such a small Qingyun mystery land? "Father, should we open up the other secret realms as well? There were more than 20 arcane realms in the Yen kingdom. If all of them are developed, the family's resources will be greatly improved." Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "The family doesn't lack resources, so there's no need to open up a secret realm now. Although these mystic realms had a lot of resources, they still needed people to manage them. If I don't hand it over to a Wang clan disciple, I won't be at ease. If he were to hand it over to the Wang clan's disciples, the large number of secret realms would require many hands to manage. They didn't have enough disciples in the first place, and all of them had gone to the secret realm. They didn't have enough manpower outside, so they couldn't control the important businesses. If these industries were handed over to the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce to manage, there might be a situation where the ministers were strong and the master was weak. By the way, how many clansmen are there in the clan now?" Wang Mingqian replied, "The new population policy you proposed has been implemented for more than 20 years, and the clan's population has also skyrocketed. Every pregnant clansman had a sufficient supply of spirit grains. In addition, the rewards for the ordinary clansmen had also increased by quite a bit after giving birth to children with spirit roots. Other than that, children without spirit roots would also be given some spirit grains as a reward. Over the years, the clan's desire to have children had grown even stronger. Currently, there were more than 5,000 cultivators and 2 million ordinary cultivators. With the puppets managing the spirit fields, there is no pressure at all." Over the past 20 years, the population of cultivators had increased by more than 40%, while the number of ordinary clansmen had increased by more than 30%. As the population base increased, as long as the growth rate was maintained, the absolute number of people would increase faster and faster. In a few more decades, the number of cultivators in the clan would reach tens of thousands. Right now, the Wang clan had plenty of resources but not enough people. Resources would not be a limit to population growth. It should not be difficult to maintain this growth rate. The more cultivators there were, the more geniuses there would be. If the Wang clan had 100,000 cultivators, they would be able to exploit most of the resources in the Yen kingdom. It seems that this policy is indeed effective. As long as the family and the Yen kingdom's finances can withstand it, it will continue. For a cultivator clan, the most important things were people and resources. We don't lack resources. The more people, the better. I still have to go back and study the Yiwu Chenkuan Gourd. I'll leave the matters of the Qingyun mystery land to you." With that said, he left Clear Glass City and returned to the underground cave of Jade Spring Peak. The Yiwu Chenkuan Gourd was personally refined by Taoist Lei Yen, so it couldn't be placed directly in the spiritual pearl space. Otherwise, it might expose the problem of the flow of time. He planned to refine a few more gourds of the same type and place them in the space of the spirit pearl. He would let his clone refine a few groups of farming puppets. The difficulty of refining spatial artifacts was higher. The clone in the space of the Spirit Pearl did not have much refining experience. It was still necessary for Wang Daoyuan to do it personally. As for the Moon Essence Pearl and Pure Yang Pearl, they were not that difficult. Level 3 artifacts were enough. There was also a Spirit Fire in the space. It was enough to leave it to Liao Yang and Xue Quan. As a blood demon, Xue Quan's refining skills were not weak. Although there were no more low-grade level 4 gourds, there were still plenty of high-grade level 3 gourds. Wang Daoyuan took out a wood attribute gourd with rich vitality and began refining the E-Wood Chengkuan gourd. A month later he successfully refined a low-grade level 4 E-Wood Chengkuan gourd with a high-grade level 3 gourd. Things like soil were not difficult. He directly cast an earth attribute spell to condense spiritual energy into soil. This soil also contained some spiritual energy. In the future the growth rate of the spirit field would be much faster. With the flow of time in the space, he could quickly start planting the purple cloud wood. Of course, the drawbacks of doing this were also very obvious. To plant the purple cloud wood in the future, the soil of more than 100 mu of land would have to be at least 30 meters thick. With so much soil, it was enough to exhaust all of his spiritual energy many times. However, he was in an underground cavern. With the lava providing endless spiritual energy, it did not matter. It would just take a bit more time. After staying in the space of the Spirit Pearl for more than half a year, he refined 6 low-grade level 4 E-Wood Chengkuan gourds. 6 sets of farming puppets as well as 6 pairs of Pure Yang Pearl and Moon Essence Pearl were also refined. The first E-Wood Chengkuan gourd that was refined could already be used to plant level 2 spirit plants. At this time, Wang Mingchen was cultivating in the Imperial Study after handling official business. Generally, when there were no important matters, Wang Shui and Wang Daochang would take turns with him to handle these official business. After handling it, they would let Wang Mingchen look over. If there were more important matters, the three of them would discuss and resolve it together. The one handling official business was Wang Daochang. In front of him were several public communication jade talismans used to receive messages from various places. A jade talisman suddenly flashed in front of him. He picked it up and read it. This person was personally promoted by Zhang Dingming. After Zhang Dingming gave in, this person had cooperated with the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce many times. The Tri-River branch was a level 1 branch. The level 2 branch of the entire Zhao country was under the jurisdiction of the Tri-River branch. This person was considered to be in a high position. His request for an audience had to be treated with caution. Wang Daochang personally walked out of the Imperial Study and went outside the palace to welcome him into the Imperial Study. This person was tall and had a simple and honest appearance. However, there was a hidden light in his 2 eyes. If one did not look carefully, one would not be able to notice it. This kind of person was usually simple and honest on the outside but extremely shrewd on the inside. Wang Mingchen and Wang Shui both woke up from their meditation. Li Xing also knew the rules. When he saw Wang Mingchen, he immediately bowed and greeted, "Blood Shadow Tri-River branch. Li Xing greets your majesty." Wang Mingchen waved his hand and said, "Hall Master Li, there is no need to be so courteous. May I know why Hall Master Li is here?" Li Sheng cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, currently, all the secondary branches under the Tri-River branch have established cooperation with the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. As long as these businesses are hung with the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's brand, they will immediately become branches of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. I am here to ask your Majesty when these businesses can be merged with the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce." Hearing this, Wang Mingchen immediately understood. He was not here to ask about merging with the Chamber of Commerce, but to ask for a title. After all, his surname was not Zhang and he had always been under the protection of the Zhang family. What could he achieve? As the representative of Blood Shadow and Zhao, if he could get a good position in the Chamber of Commerce, his future would be much better than following the Zhang family. This matter was also beneficial to the imperial court. If the cultivators under them all banded together, the imperial court would not be able to control them. Wang Mingchen nodded and said, "Since the business relationship has been established, the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's brand can be hung at any time. However, we still have to inform the Zhao Kingdom. After all, the 2 countries are neighboring countries. If we don't inform them and a large number of Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's shops appear in the markets in Zhao Kingdom, the relationship between the 2 countries will be affected. Hall Master Li, please wait for a few days. I will send someone to Zhao Kingdom to contact them. The relationship between the 2 countries is very good. This matter should not be a problem. As for Hall Master Li, father said that you are a great talent and should be entrusted with an important task. Chapter 940. Wang Mingqian's words made Li Sheng overjoyed. Wang Daoyuan was the retired emperor of the Yan kingdom and his words carried more weight than an imperial edict. With this compliment, Li Sheng's future was guaranteed. Li Sheng immediately cupped his hands and said, "You're flattering me. I can only do small things and can't be considered a great talent." Wang Mingqian smiled, "Hall Master Li, you're too humble. You've been in charge of the various branches in the Zhao kingdom for hundreds of years. Even when the Zhao clan restored the kingdom and turned the Zhao kingdom into ruins, the businesses of the various branches were not affected. This is also because of Hall Master Li's leadership. How can you say that you're not a great talent? There are so many branches in the Zhao kingdom and it would be troublesome if all of them were under the management of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. I plan to let the Chamber of Commerce follow the Blood Shadow structure and set up a first and second level branch. A first level branch can be set up in the Three River Market. It's better for Hall Master Li to be the president of the Three River Market. The Yan kingdom has only been established for a few years and we don't have enough manpower. However, we have a lot of territory. If Hall Master Li can make some achievements, it won't be a problem for you to be given a title and land." This was a clear promise. Li Sheng's face was filled with joy. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will repay your kindness with my life." "Hall Master Li, you don't have to be so courteous. I'll send someone to discuss with the Zhao kingdom. All the branches in the Zhao kingdom can be hung with the Chamber of Commerce's name. Hall Master Li, please make the necessary preparations to prevent any mishaps." Li Sheng patted his chest and promised, "Your Majesty, don't worry. With me around there won't be any problems. I'll return to the Three River Market and prepare to join the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce." Wang Mingqian nodded. "Third uncle, please send Hall Master Li off." Wang Daochang cupped his hands and left the imperial study with Li Sheng. They walked out of the imperial city. When they returned, Wang Mingqian asked, "12th uncle, third uncle, who should we send to the Zhao kingdom? Although the Yan kingdom has a good relationship with the other kingdoms, we don't have anyone in charge of the Honglu temple." Wang Daochang smiled. "Why don't we send Mingshan? He's the son-in-law of the Zhao clan and your blood relative. Sending him over can also show the sincerity of our Wang clan." Wang Shui nodded in agreement. "Daochang's idea is not bad. It's better to send Mingshan to Zhao. His bloodline is closer to yours and he is also Marquis Yuchuan. His status is more suitable. He also has connections with the kingdom of Zhao. In the future he will be the most suitable official of the Chamberlain of Dependencies. Since that's the case, summon him over and appoint him as an official of the Chamberlain of Dependencies." Wang Mingqian took out a jade talisman and sent a message to Wang Mingqian. 15 minutes later, Wang Mingqian rushed to Clear Glass City. When he arrived at the imperial study, he bowed to Wang Mingqian and said, "Your Majesty. Brother, you don't have to be so courteous. In the future, when our Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce does business in other countries, it is inevitable that we will have to deal with other countries. Although the Honglu Temple had been established a long time ago, it was only a place for foreign envoys to stay. He had only arranged for a few Zifu realm cultivators to take care of it, and hadn't sent anyone to the other nations. Right now the clan didn't have many Jindan cultivators. For a Zifu disciple to be an envoy was a bit of a disdain for the other countries. Therefore we plan to establish the position of an official of the Chamberlain of Dependencies. I have discussed with the 12th uncle and 3rd uncle that you are the most suitable. According to the customs of the various countries, the position of an official of the Chamberlain of Dependencies wasn't low. Although it wasn't as good as Wang Shui and Wang Daochang's left and right prime ministers, it didn't lose to the various palace masters. At least, it was much higher than his current position of Guiyan County's governor. Wang Mingshan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am willing to be an official of the Chamberlain of Dependencies." Wang Mingqian smiled and said, "Third uncle, prepare the official seal, official robes and other things for Brother Mingshan. We have to prepare something for the Zhao kingdom." 3 days later, Wang Mingshan took a flying boat and headed to the Zhao kingdom's capital, Longyu City. The two places were only tens of thousands of miles apart. A rank 4 flying boat only needed half a day to reach. He came as an envoy of the Yan kingdom, and the Zhao kingdom also attached great importance to him. The Zhao kingdom's Chamberlain of Dependencies, Zhao Qingjie, personally came to Longyu City to welcome him. As soon as he saw Wang Mingshan, he cupped his hands and said, "Nephew, you are finally here. Please come with me to meet the emperor." Zhao Qingjie was the younger brother of the current Emperor Zhao. After the ninth prince broke his core and formed his nascent soul, he passed the throne to the crown prince Zhao Qingxian. Wang Mingshan's wife, Zhao Yuzhen, was Zhao Qingshuan's daughter and Zhao Qingjie's niece. The Zhao kingdom's Longyu city was 100 miles square. It was much bigger than the Yan kingdom's Qingli city. Led by Zhao Qingjie, Wang Mingshan entered Longyu city and came to the imperial hall in the Zhao kingdom's imperial palace. At this time only Zhao Qingxian and a few young golden core cultivators were in the hall. Most of the golden core cultivators of the Zhao family who participated in the war to restore the Zhao kingdom had passed away. Even Lord Linhai and Zhao Lingjiang were getting old. After the Zhao kingdom's Grand Emperor and Duke Xinguo broke through to the Yuanying realm, they no longer cared about the kingdom's affairs. The usual affairs of the Zhao kingdom were managed by Zhao Qingxian and a group of descendants of the Zhao family. Wang Mingshan came to the front of the hall and bowed. Wang Mingshan, the Yan kingdom's envoy, greets the Zhao kingdom's emperor. Zhao Qingxian waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Why did the Yan kingdom's emperor send you here?" Reporting to the Zhao kingdom, the Yan kingdom has many industries, but the royal family is short of manpower, so we established the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce to develop various industries. Several years have passed and we have made some achievements. Now we plan to do business in the Zhao kingdom. Some shops in the Zhao kingdom are willing to cooperate with the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. After all, this business is in the Zhao kingdom. The Yan kingdom's emperor doesn't want the Zhao kingdom's emperor to misunderstand, so he sent me to discuss this matter with the Zhao kingdom. Of course, since we are doing business in the Zhao kingdom, we will naturally abide by the Zhao kingdom's laws. Zhao Qingxian nodded. This matter is related to the two kingdoms. I need to discuss it with the ministers. Yan kingdom's envoy, please stay in the Honglu temple for the time being. Wang Mingshan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will take my leave." Then, under Zhao Qingjie's lead, he left the imperial palace and went to the Honglu temple to wait. This was the diplomatic relationship between the two kingdoms. Before the official business was finished, they couldn't talk about private affairs casually. The Zhao kingdom's emperor and Wang Mingshan said some polite words and didn't talk about the father-son-in-law relationship. After he left, the Zhao kingdom's emperor asked, "The Yan kingdom should have made preparations for this. How should we deal with it?" A middle-aged gold core middle-stage cultivator replied, "This Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce is clearly a money-making organization of the Yan kingdom's royal family. I heard that the president is the Yan kingdom's emperor himself. Their entry into the state of Zhao was a blatant attempt to amass wealth. In my opinion, we absolutely can't agree to this." The Zhao kingdom's emperor didn't comment. "Yuqi, what do you think?" Zhao Yuqi was the Zhao kingdom's crown prince, who Wang Daoyuan met when he was traveling in the northern mountains when he was at the foundation establishment stage. Zhao Yuqi cupped his hands and said, "Father, I think there is no harm in agreeing to this matter. As far as I know, this Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce is only a facade in the Yan kingdom. Under this facade are the various branches of the Blood Shadow. The Yan kingdom's Empress Dowager is from the Blood Shadow. It is said that she is now a high-level member of the Blood Shadow. The Blood Shadow is a great force passed down from ancient times. Our Zhao kingdom is no match for it. Now that the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce has been established, it means that the Yan kingdom and the Blood Shadow have reached some kind of cooperation. There are already some shops of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce in the Song kingdom. They must have already discussed with the Yan kingdom. If we object, the Yan kingdom will casually support the Song kingdom in the future, and our Zhao kingdom will be attacked from both sides. Even if the Yan kingdom doesn't make a move personally, the Blood Shadow subordinates are not clean. How many gold core cultivators in our Zhao kingdom are enough for them to kill? The intelligence personnel in the Song kingdom sent news that the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's shops are well behaved. They just do business peacefully and develop the industries in the Sky Beheading Mountain range. They haven't done anything to harm the Song kingdom. Naturally, we don't need to be afraid. The Yan kingdom also has enough space to expand. There is no need to snatch the Zhao kingdom's territory. The Blood Shadow had always been on the upper side. The small forces didn't know about the Blood Shadow. The Zhao kingdom had been the royal family for more than 10,000 years. They had some understanding of the Blood Shadow. Chapter 941. Upon hearing that, the cultivator of Zhao clan who wanted to object stopped talking. Emperor Zhao nodded and said, "What Yuqi said makes sense. The strength of Yan kingdom is not something Zhao kingdom can compare with. If they really want to torture Zhao kingdom, they don't even need to do it themselves. With the skill of Yan kingdom's retired emperor, He can just sell some 5th-grade puppets or flying warships to Song Kingdom, and Zhao Kingdom's retired emperor and Duke Zhen would be no match for him. At that time, Song Kingdom can easily wipe out Zhao Kingdom and share the territory with Yan Kingdom. What can we do then? Besides, there is still Blood Shadow lurking in the dark. Zhao Kingdom has 2 Yuanine cultivators, and Blood Shadow has tens of thousands of years of foundation. How many Yuanine cultivators do they have? You should have heard about Zhao Liang forming his gold core. He did not have the vision of Purple Mansion before. If he can form his gold core with such talent, Yan Kingdom must have some special means. With this means, the number of gold core cultivators in Yan Kingdom will skyrocket. Our relationship with Yan Kingdom has always been good, and we even trade with each other. Zhao Kingdom has also earned a lot of energy stones. We can't offend Yan Kingdom because of some trivial matter. Everyone in the hall nodded. Offending Yan Kingdom because of personal feelings was the same as courting death. Zhao Qingjie cupped his fists and said, "Brother, should we just agree to Yan Kingdom's request?" Emperor Zhao shook his head and said, "Yuqi, I'll leave it to you. You and Yu Miao are from the same mother, so you can get closer to each other. Yan Kingdom sent my son-in-law here for this purpose, and they are very sincere. You should try your best to fight for it and get more benefits. In order to restore our kingdom, Zhao clan has paid a great price, and many of our territories have been given away. Under the current situation, we can't expand our territory anymore, so it's not a bad choice to get some benefits through business." Zhao Yuqi cupped his fists and said, "Don't worry, father. I'll try my best to fight for the benefits of Zhao Kingdom. Go and have a good talk with your brother-in-law." Zhao Yuqi cupped his fists and said yes, then left the hall and came to Wang Mingshan's place. Wang Mingshan had just arrived. When he saw Zhao Yuqi, he cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, is because Emperor Zhao has made a decision?" Zhao Yuqi smiled and said, "Of course, father has no opinion, but some of the elders in the clan. Imperial father is currently discussing with them, so he asked me to come over and chat with you first. After all, he was a son-in-law returning to his mother's home. Someone had to attend to him. Father misses Yu Miao very much, but it's a pity that you didn't bring her here this time. Also, my 2 nephews often come here when they have time. Although we are already citizens of 2 countries, blood ties cannot be severed." Wang Mingshan and Zhao Yuzhen had 2 children, both of whom had spiritual roots. It was a pity that their talents were not very strong and were only above average. Wang Mingshan said with a smile, "I'm here for official business, so it's inconvenient for me to bring my family." Now that Yu Zong's cultivation base had reached the peak stage of Violet Palace realm, and he was in the process of comprehending the power of law, it should not take him too long to form his gold core. The spiritual medicines and magic tools needed for core formation had also been prepared for him. Yu Zong's innate talent is on par with mine, and he doesn't have any special physique. So, he should have a 90% chance of forming his gold core. The 2 children were now working in the family business, and their cultivation was improving very quickly. The Wang family had too many resources but too few clansmen. With their talents and my nurturing, core formation shouldn't be a problem. When I have time, I'll bring you Miao and the children here. Zhao Yuqi was somewhat surprised to hear Wang Mingshan's words. A female cultivator like Zhao Yuzhen, who married into another country, usually did not have a high status because she did not give birth to a talented descendant. Especially when Zhao was weaker than Yan, her status was even lower. He did not expect that the Wang family would be willing to help her form her gold core. They chatted for a long time, then Zhao Yuqi said, "Of course, Imperial Father will agree to let Myriad River's merchant enter Zhao. After all, the 2 clans are in-laws, which is beneficial to Zhao. But some of our clansmen can't accept it. Zhao clan has few talents, and the status of these elders is relatively high, so Imperial Father can't just turn them down. Can Yan give us some preferential terms so that Imperial Father can explain it to our clansmen?" Wang Mingshan smiled and said, "Before I came here, His Majesty had given us the order that the 2 countries should be united. Now that Yan is not short of resources, it's not a big deal to give us some benefits. How about this? In the future, all the resources purchased from Myriad River's merchant in the name of Zhao Emperor will be given a 10% discount. Although Wang clan is not short of resources, we still have a lot of subordinates to support in the merchant association. Zhao clan should also know about Blood Shadow, and they have a share in Myriad River's merchant association. This is already the limit. If we give away too many benefits, it will be difficult to explain it to them." A 10% discount did not seem to be too big of a concession, but the transaction between the 2 countries was not a small amount. In a year there would be at least hundreds of millions of spirit stones. This achievement would be 10 million spirit stones. Although Zhao Yuqi tried to restrain himself, he still showed joy on his face. Brother-in-law, I'm very satisfied with your offer. I'll report it to Imperial Father. Then he left Honglu Temple. A quarter of an hour later he returned to Honglu Temple with Zhao Qingjie. When he saw Wang Mingshan he said happily, Brother-in-law, Imperial Father has agreed to this matter. He has appointed me and third uncle to discuss the details of the cooperation with you. The three of them discussed the details of the cooperation and recorded the completed terms in a golden book. Both sides had no objections, so the discussion was relatively fast. It only took them half a day to settle the matter, and Wang Mingshan followed them back to the Imperial Hall. He took out 2 golden books, cupped his fist and said to Emperor Zhao, Your Majesty, I've reached an agreement with the Minister of Honglu Temple and His Highness the Crown Prince of your country. These are the terms agreed upon. Your Majesty, please take a look. Zhao Yuqi personally took the golden books and presented them to Emperor Zhao. He flipped through them and used his imperial jade seal to stamp the 2 golden books. Zhao Yuqi took one of the golden books and gave it to Wang Mingshan. Emperor Zhao smiled and said, Now that the official business is settled, it's time to talk about the private affairs. As her father, I haven't seen Yu Miao for more than 100 years since she married me. As for my 2 grandsons, they have cultivated to the realm of Violet Palace realm. As their grandfather, I've never seen them before. I heard Yu Miao is preparing to form her gold core, so I naturally won't delay her cultivation. After she forms her gold core, you must bring her and my 2 grandsons back to visit her mother's home. Wang Mingshan cupped his fist and said, Father-in-law, don't worry. I'll definitely bring Yu Miao and my children back. I've long wanted to bring Yu Miao to visit my parents, but as the clan leader of Wang Clan and the governor of Guiyan County, I'm really busy. Father-in-law, please forgive me for not being able to spare some time. After chatting for half a day, Wang Mingshan finally took his leave. Looking at his departing figure, Emperor Zhao smiled and said, It was indeed the right choice for father to propose a marriage alliance with Wang Clan. After Yu Ying forms her nascent soul, she will more or less have some say in Wang Clan. With her as the link, our relationship with Yan Kingdom will be better. After that, he looked at the few Zhao clansmen in the hall. Although Wang Clan used to be a subject of Zhao Clan, Yan Kingdom is now one of the top 5 powers in Beiyuan Xiuxian, and the strength of Yan Kingdom's retired emperor is the strongest in Beiyuan. Even the other 4 top forces and the Zhou nation treated the Wang clan with respect. Since Blood Shadow is willing to join hands with Yan Kingdom to establish Myriad Rivers Merchant, he must have attached great importance to Yan Kingdom. Therefore, Zhao clan can no longer treat Wang clan with a superior attitude. All of you have experienced the war of restoring the state, and you know how great of a price Zhao clan has paid to achieve what we have today. Don't fight for some useless face and sacrifice the future of Zhao clan. The strength of Yan Kingdom is not something that the 3 major sects can compare with. In those days, we were able to hide in Sky-Chopping Mountain Range and Linhai Province. If Yan Kingdom strikes, there will be no place for Zhao clan to hide in Beiyuan. Chapter 942. Wang Mingshan took a flying boat back to Qingli City and went to the imperial study. He took out a golden book and said, Your Majesty, the Zhao Emperor has agreed to let the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce enter the markets in Zhao. This is the letter of credence signed by both parties. Wang Mingchen took the letter and read it carefully. He smiled and said, It seems that Zhao is more sensible and knows the significance of the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce to Yan. Not only did they agree to let us set up branches in the big markets in the counties, but they also welcome our shops in the small markets in Zhao. Also, they allow us to trade directly with the mines. The conditions are not bad, but we have to pay taxes according to Zhao's laws. Also, the Zhao Emperor will give us a 10% discount when doing business with the Chamber of Commerce in the name of the Zhao Emperor. The Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce's flying boats are treated the same as the Yan Imperial Court's flying boats and flying warships. As long as we bypass Zhao's important industries, we can pass through Zhao's territory without any notice. This way we can pass through Zhao's territory with great fanfare and head south. Along the edge of the Sky-Chop Mountain Range, the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce's territory can lead to the southern wilderness. Brother, this is your first diplomatic trip. You've really made a lot of money. Wang Daochang was also delighted. This old family is really generous. Other than the transportation costs, the Chamber of Commerce usually has a 40% or more profit. The transportation costs aren't high either. The things that need to be transported over long distances are elixirs, tools, and talisman arrays. With a 10% discount and taxes, we can still make 20% of the profit. Wang Mingchen smiled and said, "Brother, the family doesn't have enough manpower. We can only let you take on 3 positions. Let the Grand Elder take on more of the family's internal affairs. Third uncle, please help me with the matters of the Chamberlain of Dependencies. In the future, when the Chamber of Commerce expands its business scope, it will inevitably need to communicate with other countries. There will be more places where we need the Honglu Temple." At this time, Wang Daojian and Wang Mingkong also came to the imperial study. They had been summoned by Wang Mingchen. The 2 vice presidents of the Blood Shadow Guild, who were in charge of the Blood Shadow Guild, had to show up for such a big event. Seeing the 2 of them, Wang Mingchen said, "I'll leave the matter of accepting the Blood Shadow branches in Zhao to you. Our Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce will follow the Blood Shadow structure and divide it into first-class and second-class branches. The 3 River branch is a first-class branch, while the other branches are second-class. However, Li Sheng alone controlled more than 10 second-grade branches. His authority was too great. Linchuan County to the south of Qingli County and Heian County to the west of Qingli County were taken out from his hands and placed under the direct control of the headquarters. Li Sheng will only have less than 10 branches under his control." Wang Daojian nodded. "That's not a problem. However, Li Sheng has just joined the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. I'm afraid that he will be dissatisfied if we reduce his power." Wang Mingchen smiled and said, "This isn't a difficult matter. There are still many gaps in the structure of the Chamber of Commerce. Under you 2 branch chairmen are a large number of stewards. It was a good opportunity to set up the position of elder and let Li Sheng be the elder. In addition, in the Guiyan County north of the mountain, he was rewarded with a level 4 spiritual vein. Li Sheng also has quite a number of family members. The temptation to let him build a family clan in Guiyan County is much greater than managing a few more branches." Then he passed the Golden Book to Wang Daojian and Wang Mingkong. "This is the condition that the Yan Kingdom and the Zhao Kingdom have discussed. When handling affairs, we will follow this condition." The 2 of them looked at the Golden Book and understood the conditions. Then they took their leave. A day later, more than 10 flying boats set off from the Wanchuan market and went west along the Wanchuan River. The dragonfish flag of the Yan Kingdom was hung on the boats. When the cultivators on the Wanchuan River saw this scene, they all gave way. In less than 10 days, all the shops operated by the Blood Shadow branch in the Zhao Kingdom hung the signboard of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Wang Daoyuan naturally did not care about these things. At this moment he was teaching his clone Liao Yang and Shui Quan how to refine the Yi with Chengkuan gourd. After returning to the Jade Spring Peak, the first Chengkuan gourd he refined had been in the space of the spiritual pearl for about half a year. According to the time in the space of the spiritual pearl, more than 40 years had passed. The entire magic artifact, including the internal space, the moonlight pearl and the farming puppet were all fine. Basically, it was confirmed that the combination of the few magic artifacts did not have any fatal flaws. Therefore they could be refined in large quantities. Liao Yang was originally a level 4 weapon refiner. Back then, when he took him down, he used an incomplete doppelganger soul nurturing technique. His cultivation did not have much room for improvement, and the progress of his refining techniques was also very slow. Until now, he could only refine level 4 high-grade magic artifacts. However, the level 3 high-grade E-Wood gourd could only refine level 4 low-grade magic artifacts. With his level 4 high-grade refining techniques, refining this thing was not difficult at all. Needless to say, Shui Quan was a level 5 mid-grade refining master. Although the magic artifacts of the demon race were very different from the magic artifacts used by the human race, overall they were all the same. As long as he adapted for a period of time, he could master the refining method. Moreover, he used the complete doppelganger soul nurturing technique to control it. His soul was not seriously damaged. Whether it was his cultivation or refining skills, there was a lot of room for improvement. Now that he was a level 5 high-grade refining master, his refining skills were comparable to Wang Daoyuan's. Ever since he was refined into a doppelganger, Wang Daoyuan let him try to refine the human race's magic artifacts. Now more than 10 years had passed, and after many practice, refining a level 4 low-grade Chengkuan gourd was no longer a problem. A year later, nearly 100 years had passed in the Spirit Pearl space. The 2 doppelgangers had refined over 100 Chengkuan gourds. Unfortunately, the level 3 high-grade gourds were all used up, and even the meteorites were not many left. They could no longer refine the Chengkuan gourd as well as the Moon Essence Pearl and Pure Yang Pearl. With these over 100 gourds, It was equivalent to the spirit pearl space expanding by several hundred times. Unfortunately, these gourds could only grow level 4 and below spirit herbs. After all, the grade of magic artifacts was only so high. The spiritual energy absorbed was limited. Planting high-grade spirit herbs simply could not withstand it. Most of the level 4 and below spirit herbs originally planted in the spirit pearl space were transplanted into these gourds. The cleared space was all used to plant level 4 and above spirit herbs. These gourds had already been refined for a period of time. Most of the gourds had already nurtured level 3 spirit fields. Among them, over 70 gourds were planted with purple cloud wood. The remaining gourds were planted with foundation establishment pill and purple cloud pill spirit herbs. These tasks were all done by the doppelgangers. Of course, Wang Daoyuan was not idle either. He was looking through the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts, wanting to use it to improve his own cultivation technique. The penta-spirit immortal art still had many shortcomings and needed to be improved. He wanted to continue improving the 5 spirit seeds, so that spirit energy could be directly transformed into spiritual sense. At this moment he felt a fluctuation of the power of law in the outside world. Using his spiritual sense to investigate, he saw a cave on the mountain peak flickering with a purple light. At this moment, there was already a purple sphere with a diameter of 8.5 inches floating above the cave. This cave belonged to Wang Delin. The person who opened the Violet Palace could only be him. Ordinary heavenly spiritual roots only had a 7-inch Violet Palace. An 8.5-inch Violet Palace was only achievable by geniuses at Wang Delin's level. He was not even 35 years old yet. Taoist Thunderflame and Wang Daoyin had already arrived at the mountain peak to protect Wang Delin. After the Violet Palace was formed, Taoist Thunderflame sighed, "Even those with heavenly spiritual roots need to be 40 to 50 years old to open the Violet Palace." Since the disappearance of level 5 spiritual energy more than 10,000 years ago, there has never been a cultivator who opened the Violet Palace before the age of 40. This little fellow is only in his early 30s. I'm afraid he's the youngest Violet Palace cultivator in Beiyuan Xiuxian. If he continues to cultivate at this speed, he'll be able to form his core in 100 years. Daoyin, when your grandnephew surpasses you in cultivation, let's see where you'll put your face. Chapter 943. Wang Daoyin did not mind such mockery at all and even retorted, "Do I have nothing better to do than compete with a heaven spirit root and a spiritual body in terms of cultivation speed? A heaven spirit root cultivator only has one spirit root. Although it is not balanced, it is still a unique path. After reaching the Yuanying realm, his cultivation speed will obviously slow down, but that is only when compared to a penta spirit root cultivator who has a more balanced cultivation speed. The cultivation speed of a 2-spirit root cultivator and a tri-spirit root cultivator is still far behind a heaven spirit root cultivator. At this rate, his cultivation will surpass yours in 200 to 300 years. Although these words made Master Lei Yan unhappy, he knew that it was the truth. The cultivation speed of a heaven spirit root cultivator was not slow, not to mention that Wang Delin had a spiritual body. In the ancient legends, penta spirit root cultivators were the most common, followed by heaven spirit root cultivators. Most of the cultivators who could reach the almighty realm had special constitutions. Wang Daoyuan also came out from the underground cave and flew to the top of the mountain, quietly waiting for Wang Delin to open his purple mansion. Not long after, a black and pure water spiritual power appeared in the sky. This water spirit energy circled around the purple mansion for a while, and then turned into a black water droplet. When this water droplet appeared, it quickly absorbed the surrounding water spirit energy. The Jade Spring Peak Spirit Vein was a pure water spirit vein, and it was already at the peak of the 4th level, and could break through to the 5th level at any time. But when this water droplet absorbed spirit energy, it could actually cause a spirit energy wind. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to examine this water droplet, but did not find anything special. It was just an extremely pure law of water. After absorbing spirit energy for a long time, the black water droplet gradually shrank, and finally became the size of a dragon's eye, engraved on the purple mansion. This water droplet was extremely extraordinary, and gave people a heavy feeling. In addition, it also emitted a bone-piercing chill. As for what it was, Wang Daoyuan could not figure it out at the moment. Seeing that his master was nearby, he flew over. "Master, Delin's purple mansion is quite extraordinary. I am slow-witted and do not know the origin of this black water droplet. Please enlighten me." Master Lei Yan's face was full of smiles. "Delin is really lucky. This spirit water is called the Xianming primordial water. Although water and fire mutually reinforced and countered each other, they also had something in common. Among the 5 elements, only water and fire were formless and formless. Since the fire attribute could produce spiritual fire, the water attribute could naturally produce spiritual water as well. The Xianming primordial water was not an ordinary spiritual water. Only a spiritual spring of at least level 6 and above had a slight chance of condensing it. But even if it could be condensed, it would take hundreds of thousands of years, and it could not be disturbed during the process. This kind of spirit water usually existed in the depths of the sea and was formed by the condensation of the essence of water. There are many types of spiritual water, but not many can compare to the Xianming primordial water. Wang Daoyuan had also read many ancient books, but his knowledge was still lacking. There were too many things that he could not identify the Xianming primordial water. The moment Venerable Lei Yen mentioned it, he immediately recalled the records regarding the Xianming primordial water. This thing required a huge amount of water spiritual energy to condense. Because it gathered too much water spiritual energy, it was extremely heavy. Therefore, the Xianming primordial water was extremely powerful. The Xianming primordial water was another name for the black tortoise. The Xianming primordial water was not directly related to the black tortoise. It was just that it was born with an extremely powerful suppressive force, similar to that of the black tortoise. Furthermore, the Xianming primordial water carried an extremely strong chill. Although it did not condense into ice, it was not difficult to use this water to envelop an opponent and freeze them to death. Any spiritual water was equivalent to a small spiritual spring. It could absorb spiritual energy and produce an endless amount of water. Although the Xianming primordial water was not the strongest among the spiritual waters, it was still one of the best. Furthermore, it was nurtured by the sea and its ability to produce water was far superior to that of ordinary spiritual waters. In the ancient legends recorded in the Valley of Beasts, there were records of using the Xianming primordial water to fight against enemies. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, a powerful being obtained a drop of the Xianming primordial water in the deep sea and cultivated it. Later on, this powerful being was besieged by many demons of the same level and could not escape. He used the Xianming primordial water to create a boundless lake out of thin air and used the lake's geographical advantage to kill all of his opponents. Spiritual waters had the ability to control water, and the Xianming primordial water was even more so. Its ability to control water was only slightly inferior to the black tortoise and much more powerful than Wang Shui's black dragon. Of course, Wang Delin's Xianming primordial water was only a purple mansion avatar. In order to form the real Xianming primordial water, he had to first understand a lesser mystique and then use it to form the Xianming primordial water. After all, he had a spiritual body and not a combat body. Spiritual bodies cultivated very quickly. When he underwent the Golden Core Heavenly Tribulation, there would be another spiritual body tribulation. However, he would not directly understand a lesser mystique. With his talent, the secret techniques of the Wang family and sufficient resources, it was not difficult for him to understand a lesser mystique. The nomological laws contained in the Xianming primordial water were very pure. They were only slightly different from the water-type nomological laws. It was not like the godly beast avatar, which was formed by many nomological laws and could awaken many lesser mystiques. The lesser mystique that Wang Delin awakened in the future would definitely be the Xianming primordial water. Soon Wang Delin's soul appeared. After meditating for a while in front of the Purple Mansion avatar, he stood up again. He had never gone out to train since he was young. As one of the top prodigies in the Wang family, the elders loved him very much. Naturally, he did not have any inner demons. A door appeared in the Purple Mansion avatar and his soul walked in. After that, the Purple Mansion avatar entered the cave and the purple light gradually disappeared. Large amounts of water-type spiritual energy around the cave started to surge into the cave. Seeing that there was no more drama to watch, Lei Yin Jinren and Wang Daoyin returned to the equipment forging hall and continued to guide the Wang family disciples. 2 hours later, Wang Delin walked out of the cave. Seeing Wang Daoyuan and the rest outside the cave, he quickly cupped his hands and said, "Seventh uncle, thank you for standing guard here. Please come in for a chat." The two of them walked into the cave and Wang Delin activated the cave's restrictions. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Spiritual body and heavenly spiritual roots, it is indeed extraordinary. Your Purple Mansion avatar is the Xianming primordial water. It is very famous among the spiritual waters. When you reach the Aurus Core stage and comprehend lesser abilities, you can use them to condense the Xianming primordial water. The clan's Tripitaka block also has records of the lesser abilities of spiritual objects and methods of condensing spiritual fire and spiritual water. It won't be too late to check it out after you form the Aurus core. Wang Delin cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your guidance, seventh uncle. I have already reached the Purple Mansion stage, but my technique can only be cultivated to the Foundation Establishment stage. Please bestow upon me the technique." The technique he cultivated was the Valley of Beasts Black Tortoise Hall's Black Tortoise Imperial Water technique. Now that he had awakened the Shenming Primordial Water, it was very compatible with this technique. Back then he was worried that outsiders would covet the technique. In order to protect him, he only gave him the Qi Cultivation and Foundation Establishment stage techniques. Now that his cultivation had reached the Purple Mansion stage, it was time to give him the technique. Wang Daoyuan took out a beast skin book. This was the copy of the Black Tortoise Imperial Water technique that his clone had copied. Now that you have reached the Purple Mansion stage, you don't need to cultivate in seclusion anymore. In the future you can cultivate in the palace of Qingli City. Patriarch Myriad Spirit is overseeing there. He has lived for more than 200,000 years and has seen all kinds of geniuses. He also knows the techniques of the Valley of Beasts like the back of his hand. As for how to cultivate the Xianming Primordial Water, it is better for him to guide you. This technique is very important. After you have memorized the contents, hand it to Mingchen and let him place it in the secret vault of Qingli City. Do not leak it out. Wang Delin took the beast skin book and said, "Don't worry, seventh uncle. I know the importance of this. I will go to Qingli City to cultivate now. After I pack up, I will go to Qingli City." Wang Daoyuan nodded his head and said, "Coincidentally, I have been in seclusion for a year and have some insights. I need to consult Patriarch Myriad Spirit. Follow me." Wang Delin packed up some things and followed Wang Daoyuan to Qingli City. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.